Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter, and you're listening to episode 32 of the Third Fleet podcast. We are on the cusp of the release of a new Monster Hunter game with Monster Hunter Stories 2, and I've not played it outside the demo, but Rurikhan has been playing the full game, and I'll be able to probe and ask him questions, albeit in a non-spoiler way since I don't want to know too much about the game myself. I'm sure we'll get sidetracked and talk about all sorts of other random things as well along the way, so strap in, get caffeinated, and along for the ride. Rurikhan, how are you doing, my friend?
And get me some of that caffeine while you guys are getting caffeinated, because I most definitely need it. I am dying over here. I haven't slept that much today, and whatever. I haven't slept, and I'm not going to sleep a whole lot because I've just been like real crazy busy. Although I will make sure to mention that I did not rush through Monster Hunter Stories 2. Those of you who will have watched my video will probably have noticed that it is not an actual review, because I never even use review on the title unless I've actually finished the game.
It's like a preview, right? It's like a thoughts of a game in progress, right?
I like to call it like thoughts or discussion or gameplay impressions. You know, I like to call them different things, but to me, putting something like review on a title is almost like something that I consider to be sacred in a way. This was, I think, instilled in me by the late Total Biscuit. I don't know if you have ever heard of him.
I've heard of him, but I've unfortunately not been able to watch his content. But I know he was very highly respected.
Yeah, he was a very big inspiration for me, the way that he created content. Because he was there's a lot of people that would pull out like all kinds of clickbait and stuff, and just like do all kinds of videos that, I'm gonna get myself a chunk of views. And he didn't really do that kind of stuff. And I was always like, okay, if I put review on a title, I better be really comfortable about what I'm about to talk. And even though I'm very comfortable in what I talk about for Stories 2, it's like I didn't actually finish the story, so I'm not gonna call it a review. I did play 35 hours of it, but before we dive into that, I wanted us to touch up on some Rise a little bit, because you've been doing some crazy stuff over there with Yuna. I haven't really seen the video, but I know what the video is about. And
I was gonna say, with you having such a lack of sleep, I don't know if it would be a good idea for you to watch it. It would be hard on the eyes. So me and Yuna have still been enjoying the heck out of Rise.
How dare you? How dare you? You can't do that. Do you know the Rise is bad? You can't enjoy it. I
finally, and for you who followed me on Twitter, I finally threw up my arms and said, you know what, I'm going to stop trying to comment on the trolls and the haters, and it's going nowhere, and I realize I'm just feeding the flames, so I'm going to stop with that. But yeah, I really enjoy the game, so we're still going hot and heavy on it. She's trying out new weapons, and it's funny because all the weapons she's like, I don't like this weapon, and now she's like, I like this weapon. So she's constantly having to go into her guild card and change the star rating for what she's giving all the weapons. And so far, the only weapon now that's not at 3 stars, I think, or at least 2, is Charge Blade.
Oof. I thought you were going to say the Gunlands, and I was going to be like, come on, man, don't do me dirty like that.
She gave it 2 stars.
She gave it 2 stars?
Well, 2 stars means she likes it, but she's just not very good at it, where 3 means that she likes and she's good at it.
Oh, man.
But she was picking up the Switch Axe again. But anyways, we've been playing a lot, and it just seems to be a daily ritual for us now that we do about, I'd say, a good 10 or more all-mother hunts every day. It's just our it's like, you know how there's always like that one quest that you just go and you practice when you try a new weapon, you always do it on that quest, and when you just want to get warmed up, you do that quest. For us, it's the all-mother hunt. We really enjoy it.
It's a comfort thing that you end up doing, I feel like, and I feel like a lot of people do that with games. Like at some point in my life, I think my comfort game was WoW, because I could just like literally jump in, and even though I didn't need anything, I would run like an heroic dungeon. Later in my life, it became like Dark Souls 1, where it's like,
Mm.
and I just don't feel like doing anything. So I jump in, start a
Yeah,
brand new
it's
character,
just
Dark Souls 1. And for you guys right now, that seems to be All Mother because you guys just go in and keep chipping away at All Mother. But yeah, keep
oh,
going.
it's
Sorry.
fun. We're always looking for new ways to challenge ourselves and enjoy the hunt even more because we really like the hunt a lot. So like the other day, she reached 400 Ibushis killed, which is crazy on her guild card. She was happy about that. I think we're at about 260 all mothers.
Jesus.
Which doesn't sound, it actually doesn't sound like a lot compared to how much time we've spent. But we do so many weird little challenges that we've failed quite a bit of the hunts, just out of just goofing around. But anyway, so we were looking for a new way to do it. I don't know if you saw the tweet, but she tried the other day. It was like the other week. She actually
She
tried to
tried it
blindfold
blindfolded.
herself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she tried to blindfold herself and do just a regular narwhal. That was not possible. It's just not. But it was fun to try. So I got a cheesy idea after seeing a clip of someone. I don't know what it was. I can't remember, but it was someone had their brightness on the TV mode set all the way down to 0, and they couldn't see anything pretty much. But the sky or the fire was glowing. I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea because these monsters are illuminated. You can at least see them, or at least parts of them. So we decided to do. We made a new challenge called the Super Narwa, the Super All Mother Challenge hashtag, where we take the screen brightness. So you can only do this when docked, unfortunately. So light users can't do this, and we turn the brightness to 0, which basically makes the game almost impossible to see. It's like pure dark and black. However, you are able to still see. You can't, like for Ibushi, you can't even see the floor. It's like you're running around in a void of darkness. But you could see his glowing air pockets, right? And his eyes, his beady little eyes. And you can use layered armor for this. I did. Yuna's like, I ain't. She could only see the faint glow of her Ibushi greatsword. I needed to know where I was because I was sword and shield. I was like, I gotta know where I'm at. So I put
See,
on like layered Valstrax.
I'd be able to see myself because I would just do like one ground splitter and the tip of my gun lance would be on fire. I'd be able to tell.
So we did the quest, with the brightness all the way down, and it's hard on the eyes. It's not. We had to take breaks, but we did it the first time with full armor, and we beat it in the first try. And we're like, okay, this is too easy. We gotta up it. So Yuna's like, let's do it with no armor. I'm like, what? Okay. So we did no armor, 0 brightness, and after a few attempts and a few breaks, we were able to get it. And I uploaded the video just the other day, like just a few hours ago from when we were recording this. But yeah, it was a crazy challenge. And I did put some health warnings on there on the video because I know that some people don't react well to bright contrast of darks and bright lights and flashes and stuff. But if you're okay with it and it doesn't screw you up and you don't feel dizzy or sick, it's a fun challenge. It's just another way to push yourself. If you enjoyed the All Mother challenge, this is like the next evolution. I don't know where we can go from here, though. I think at this point we're kind of waiting for. We really want them to release like a super version of the hunt where they're both like super powered. Someone joked around and said, "Oh, you should do it with a Kimura like starting weapon," and I'm like, I already did that. I didn't make a video out of it because I didn't find it interesting. But yeah, we've beaten her using, starting weapons. It just wasn't anything very special. It just took a little bit longer. That's all.
Yeah. I think that when you're using stuff like really weak weapons, I find that that type of gameplay to me is not super appealing. Like I remember whenever I used to stream a lot of Dark Souls, right, back in the day, people would always ask me, Rurikhan, play through the game with a broken sword, and I'm like, why? I know that some people do that, but it just seems like so boring to sit there and go like, whack. It's not even hard. It's just boring. Like I get bored.
Yeah, because I mean the hard part of the hunt is just focus and pulling it off. And if you can already do that, then just say, "Oh, I did a longer version of it." Is okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't make for a very interesting watching experience, so I just deleted the file. I'm like, I'm not uploading that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really fun. So we're still going crazy on the game. But we are both so looking forward to Stories 2 this weekend for us. But yeah, Rise has lots of love still in it for us. I know a lot of people have moved on and they might come back with some more event quests, which is fine. But we're getting a
I
lot out
actually
of it.
did an event quest yesterday because I hadn't done it yet. Something that rewarded a gesture. It was Camellios in the Flooded
On the
Forest, I
flooded
think.
forest, yeah.
I actually used that as B-roll for that video where I start doing like calculations on when potentially Monster Hunter Rise Ultimate is going to get released. And I find it very interesting that there are still people that whenever we talk about an Ultimate version, they'll be like, I don't want an Ultimate version. I want a DLC like Iceborne. It's like,
Oh, that's what we mean.
this is the same thing we're talking about. It's gonna be, there's gonna be the DLC, and then there's gonna be the Ultimate version. It's gonna be the same thing that it was with World and Iceborne.
Game plus the DLC, yeah.
There are some things that when you do in gaming, a certain, like either business models or whatever, you just can't put the genie back in the bottle. So like after they opened the door to the way that they did it with Iceborne, they're not going back to like, oh yeah, now you have to, here's the full version with the ultimate, whatever. They're not going back to that. At least I'd be super surprised if they do that. I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever.
I don't think they would, no.
Yeah, so when we say ultimate version or G rank version or something like that, we mean there's going to be one version with the DLC, and there's going to be another version that will be like the master edition of Monster Hunter World, which included Iceborne, which is like the traditional G rank expansion that people know. But I went back and I looked at like the release dates for all the Monster Hunter games, and I did like all of the averages. I removed some of the outliers. I did a bunch of stuff. And basically it all ended up being like 14 months. It's 14 months average between each Monster Hunter game and between G rank expansions. It's 14 months. I even put a little Easter egg on the video where I was like, average between base game and G rank 14.2. Average between each Monster Hunter game 14.4, and then best Final Fantasy game 14. Coincidence? I think not.
Yeah, I saw that. I think not. Yeah, I saw that. That was really funny. Yes, I don't think we'll get. I agree with you. I don't think we'll get an ultimate release until normally I would say summer, early summer. But considering just the world's not in a good place yet, it could be as late as something like maybe August or, God forbid, September. I don't know, but my guess would be more around August timeframe to get them away from any holiday releases or anything like that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I definitely think that Monster Hunter 6 or whatever they'll call it is probably going to be like January 2024.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to look forward to in the next few years for Monster Hunter, so I'd be hyped.
Yeah, pretty much. And to be honest, I prefer this type of thing to like the live service that some people kind of seem to prefer. I'm like, no, give us some space in between the games so that we can like refresh,
Play other games,
and get hyped. Yeah, we play other games, we refresh, get hyped, and go. It just feels fresher when you do it like that.
I don't know if you saw it, but I made a tweet of like a gaming schedule. I'm like, good luck to any game trying to get into my schedule because, like, I'm going to be playing Rise until the end of the year, I'm sure. Yep. We're going to be playing Stories until like the end of the year, I'm sure. Once December or whenever it comes out, I'm sure I'm going to stop and play the campaign for Halo Infinite, which I want to do.
No. Listen. Here's what you got to do. You got to take a break in November. Well, no, it's going to be hard. You got to take a break before that. So you got to take a break so that you play all of the Final Fantasy 14 expansions up until the last one, so that then in November you can take another break and play the last Final Fantasy 14.
Oh man, give me a way to purchase more time in life, and I would extend.
Yeah.
The first upgrade is like more hours in the day would be the first upgrade I buy.
The Dragon Ball Z hyperbolic time chamber. That's what we need. We go in there. We'll game for like 4 years, and in real life, it's been like 4 days, and it's like, this is perfect. Oh, yeah. This is the best.
That'd be great. And then Elden Ring, I'm really hyped for Elden Ring, especially after watching Oh my God, Vadi did a video where he talked about 100 things he found in the trailer. It's like a 20-minute like in-depth thing, and just I'm so hyped for it. I'm just like, oh my God, this is gonna be so good, and it sounds so massive. I'm just like, okay, so that's gonna be January, February, whatever, right? I'm like, man, there's just I don't have any room to play anything else.
Yep.
I just don't.
As soon as
It's a
Elden Ring
good it's a
comes
good
out,
issue to have.
yeah, it's like I honestly expected back when I started seeing the business practices of a lot of companies. This was actually close to the end of the PS3 era, like right before the PS4. I was seeing some business practices in the gaming industry that I was just going to be like, I was just thinking to myself, eventually I'm not gonna want to play any video game that comes out if people keep doing these business like I'm just not interested. Everything is going to mobile. Everything is doing all of these, season passes and whatnot, and it's not for me. And so I'm actually surprised and positively surprised that there's still so many games that I'm super hyped about that are upcoming. So that's a good thing.
I almost kind of say like with how blessed we are with how much titles and how many games there are to play, and independent game developers as well. Like, it takes some guts to try to like sell your game based on season passes, because man, trying to get someone's attention for that long on one game, that's a feat.
Yeah, pretty much indeed. But the time has come. We need to dive into stories too. I actually,
oh man,
I actually have questions that I want to ask you too about Stories 1, because about things that I want to compare with, because I didn't play that much Stories 1. Like, I have maybe 5 hours under my belt or something like that with Stories 1, which in a game like Stories, 5 hours is like nothing. In some games, it's like half of your playthrough, but in Stories, it's literally nothing. It's more like 5 minutes or something like that. But
yeah, just so people know, like, I don't think we're gonna be talking about anything story related. So
yeah,
I mean, it'll be mostly mechanics and thoughts and feelings and stuff. So I don't honestly feel that it's spoiler territory, but it's worth mentioning.
no, we're not going to go into spoiler territory. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you right now that from my experience in the game, particularly now that I've played 35 hours, and yesterday I was going through the trailers to put in my video, and I was like, oh my God. I started like seeing into the future because of the things that I know
I haven't
about
even
the game
been
now.
there.
And I'm seeing into the future with all the reveals that they did, and I was like, no, why did you reveal so many things in these trailers? And then just the other day, I saw you talk about a monster on Twitter that I had seen in the game, but I haven't seen it confirmed anywhere else. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to talk about this monster. Then suddenly, boom, you're like, oh my God, I see this thing. And I was like, no.
Hey, if it's on my stance has always been consistent. If Capcom is marketing and talking about it, it's fair game.
I just still wish that they wouldn't reveal as much as they do with just the amount of stuff that they reveal for all of their Monster Hunter games. I always think it's too much.
That's like a game. It's a game industry problem at this point.
Yeah.
It's not really just them. It's the problem is that they're fighting for your attention so hard that marketing has decided there must be metrics that show that it's effective or something, because people are like, like if you're playing an RPG, don't watch final trailers for that, man, because you're basically seeing a digest of the entire game, and you don't want that. So it's unfortunate. It's an interesting thing. I'm not knowledgeable enough to know why it started doing that, but I mean, stories, I mean, that's I mean, at least how it was in Stories 1, like, to me, the story and going through the main game, that was like a very long tutorial. And that's when the game opened up. Like, the post game was so pristine and delicious in that game, that I'm not going to rush to get to it, but it's going to be interesting seeing reviews coming out for the game, because they're going to be talking about, like, oh, I did a little bit of the post game or whatever. I'm like, that's such a huge portion of these games.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole, like, look at the marketing. They're showing off all these Deviants and Elder Dragons, and they're saying this is all post-story content, like post-credits. Like, this has nothing to do, like, because that's when they go crazy and they they have all the really powerful dungeons and stuff. And I mean, I think most of my gameplay hours in Stories 1 was post credits. I would definitely say that, yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things that I noticed was that I got an early code. I'm very thankful to Capcom for sending over an early code so that I could start playing it ahead of time. And, you know, my initial thought when I got the code was like, okay, so I should start playing and try to see if I can finish it as not as fast as possible, but see if I can finish it in a way that's still enjoyable, and so that I can actually put out a review on embargo date and all of this stuff. And then I started playing through it, and I realized that I was just having so much fun doing things that weren't necessarily going to allow me to finish the game. That I was like, no, I'm having too much fun. This is fine. Instead of a review, I'll do something else where I'll talk about my gameplay experience, the sound, visuals, all of that stuff. But I will just focus on enjoying the game, because I did 35 hours, and I think that the amount of story content that I did in that time, you could probably do in like 15. Because I mean, we even discussed this. I think we talked about this in the last podcast, where I spent 8 hours in the demo. You've spent how much? 20 by now? 21? Whatever it was?
20, 23 or something, yeah.
You spent like 20-something hours in the demo. I spent 8, and we both agreed that a normal person will go through that demo in like 3-4 hours tops. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, there's just so many interesting things to do while you're going about the world, and you see like, oh, there's a rare monster. Then I'm going to go in there, get me some eggs, get me some rare genes, you know? Or, oh, I see there's an Everden over there. I'm going to go over there and do that. Or, hey, this monster would be really cool on my team. I want to go hunt that monster. And that's basically what I end up doing. I just run around through the world, and I'm like, oh, I'm going that Everden, going to get that monster, going to add it to my team. Oh, I like this armor. Going to go craft this armor, going to go craft this weapon. And suddenly I look at myself and I'm like, oh, I think I have like all of the monsters in this area with a lot of rare genes. Maybe I should advance the story a little bit so that I can go get different ones.
I was going to say the most enjoyable way I think Stories 1, at least for me, was enjoying it was what you're doing, which is as you get to when you unlock a new area in the game as you progress, it unlocks like a new category of several monsters, right?
Yeah.
It's like Pokemon in that regard. I'll get, you know, like, or any game at that point. But unlike games like Pokemon, where it's like, okay, well, like I know the gym is going to be like a boss is going to be fire, so I'm just going to get a really powerful water monster, whatever, and plow through. The monsters I find in Monster Hunter Stories are, one, we have such an attachment to them that we want them. Two, it's exciting because we're getting different versions of them every time that actually matter and make a huge difference and how we can utilize them. Then you get the whole gene editing thing. It's like there's no time wasted. It's just fun. And so you kind of want to collect at least one of every of the monster that you've unlocked before you go on. But like you said, that leads to, okay, now I want the weapons. Now I want the armor. Yeah. Now I want to get an outfit for Naviro. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then,
oh my God. Oh,
but and then you're going to progress, and then you see like a gold dungeon. You're like, I got to get in there. I got to get the egg. And then I got to go hatch it. And oh my God, this thing's so cool. I want to level it up. And it just like, let yourself get lost. It's the funnest thing.
So that's when I was just like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to enjoy myself and finish the game. So it's like, I don't care. I'm gonna just enjoy myself. And I'm even considering, due to the amount of story progression that I've done, I might just actually stream, just, you know, beelining through the story up until the point where my main character is, and then just continue streaming that game for like God knows how long, because it's so ridiculous. But I do have a question. I do have a question for you in regards to the gene editing, because so I've played Monster Hunter, not Monster, I was going to say Pokemon. I've played Pokemon games before. One of the things that frustrates me a lot in Pokemon games is the fact that they hide IVs from you, which is the I don't even know what they're actually called. Internal values. I don't think it's internal values. It's something else. But whatever
initial values.
I don't know. It might be initial values. I don't know what it is, but I know that it's the IVs, because everybody's always talking about, oh, you got to get good IVs for your Pokemon, otherwise it's not good. And it's
individual values. There you go. Individual values.
Okay, so
people aren't triggered.
So it's like, I hate the fact that at the start of the game, they hide that stuff from you. So there's no real reason for you to min-max your Pokemons until you finish the game. There's just
Because
no
you
real
don't
reason
know,
to do it.
like, oh, I had a low potential guy, and
It's
can
not
only go
even
so
that you
far.
don't know. According to what most people tell me, like, they're just always trash. There's always, you have to be like super mega hyper lucky to get an actual good Pokemon close to the start, middle, or even ending of the game. The real good ones come at the end, and most of them, from my understanding, come from like breeding, where you need to get a Ditto or whatever and breed the Pokemons. Which it's also real weird, okay, that you just have a Pokemon that's just basically sitting there waiting to mate with other Pokemons.
Yeah.
That whole thing is real weird, okay? But anyway, with stories, they give you the right of channeling fairly early on. Like, even by my standards, I still thought it was fairly early. I think it was like 10 hours and change in or whatever. Here's the right of channeling. What does this let you do? Well, it lets you edit the genes of your monsters, which that's the thing that I wanted to ask you. That is the only thing that you need to min-max in a monster, right? The genes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the genes, yes. The thing is where you get into something that's similar to IVs is that it's not a hidden value, which is good. But you're very late game, I would say post story, at least in Stories 1, how it was you would have a monster that you're working on, right? It would be a work in progress, several of them. And you'd be like, okay, I want a power gene for the bottom left. Like, that's the one I need. And so when you start pulling eggs, you start looking for who has a power in the bottom left and what is it? And or is it a skill? Is it just an element thing? And so you're also looking at because that's decided, like when you get an egg and you get the monster, where things are on the grid is a thing, right? At least it wasn't the first one. So you had, like, it could be kind of a trashy monster, but it might have a really killer skill sitting there in the bottom left, right where you have a monster that's got an open slot for the bottom left, and you're like, oh baby, I'm taking that.
Yeah, but
it's like,
but at the end of the day, it's still genes. It's still just the genes. That's it. So yeah. See, that's
So if you were to make like the perfect, let's say I made what I felt was like the perfect Stygian Zinogre, you could make the same one if you put in the time, and especially as you get more involved and the community starts mapping things out, you'll know where, okay, if you want critical boost L, this monster is guaranteed to have it. Like, you can pull an egg several times, you don't know where it's going to be, whether it's going to be in the middle, the bottom left, middle left. But if you keep pulling the egg, you're going to get it in the spot that you want. Then you do the rite of channeling, and you pull it, and you put it onto your monster. So that I like. It's not. You're not wasting time.
But see, that's the difference, and that is such a critical thing for me with this game. And I know that some people in Pokemon are going to say, I don't understand why he's like this. I'm weird, okay? Maybe I'm weird, I don't know. But to me, the simple fact that very early in the game, they're like, here's how our system works, instead of just like having some random hidden value that they'll reveal to you at the end of the game through some whatever thing that you got to do. Which, by the way, even after you finish Pokemon Shield, they don't reveal it to you. You have to go into some tower and do some fight, whatever. Then they eventually reveal it to you. But I'm just getting to a bit of a rant here, and I don't want to, because I just want to talk about stories too. It's just my brain's a little bit wired today. But so they just revealed.
The good thing about, go ahead. Sorry.
They just reveal the genes to you very early on, and they just tell you, here's how you min-max your monsties. And so you can instantly tell when you look at a monstie whether or not that monstie has the potential to be a good one. Which very early on, all you got to check is like, you look at it and you're like, does it have locked things? Yes. Then I'm not going to be able to do much with him. Or does it have locked things that unlock at a certain level? Then you're like, aha, so if I level him up, I can do certain things with him, which is cool. So like, I think all of the monsters in my team right now have the potential for me to do whatever the hell I want with them, because they have all of the unlocked slots. They might not have the best ones there right now, but I can go hunt eggs and replace them. So I have some really, really cool monsters already, and that's the thing. I'm already engaging in the min-maxing aspect of it, which has me pretty much hooked on the whole system and constantly looking for more monsties and like, oh, I want to go get eggs. I want to go into the rare den. I want to go. I even sometimes I'll be like, I'm just gonna go. Like I'll fight a monster. I'll throw a paintball at him just because he can run away, and then I'll go to his nest. And there's also a chance of you pulling a rare egg from the nest of that monster, specifically of that monster.
Yeah,
So,
I love the idea from Stories 1 that even if you didn't pull like a rainbow egg, like the purple glow that you get, you still have the chance of getting a really quality monster, whether it's
yep.
a monster for that point in the game has a really good bingo or a really good skill, or it has a really good gene that you're going to be able to utilize later on. So I mean, the hardest problem I had, and you're not even far enough that I can't ask you because you wouldn't know. I'm really curious about the upper limits of how many monsties you can have in your ranch or corral or whatever they're calling it, because I would stock up so many monsters in the first game, and I would use them like materials, and it was kind of crazy.
Right now, I think I'm at 60. I'm not sure. I think I'm 60
Okay,
something. But
but a healthy amount.
the way that it works is whenever you get to a new village, there's that feline that has the bottle cap currency thing, and he will just
Yeah.
sell you stable upgrades every time you get to a new
Oh,
village.
nice.
At least so far, I've been to 3 villages, and every single time I get to one of those, and I just give him like a bunch of bottle caps, and he's like, "Here you go, boom, done." And it's not like I'm even hardcore grinding the bottle caps. I'll just go into Everdens every now and then.
Yeah, yeah.
I went back to
Pick
some of
them
the
up,
earlier Everdens when I unlocked like monsters that give you
climbing
more,
up vines and
yeah,
stuff.
climbing up vines and whatnot. I was like, oh, I got to go back and get those other things that I didn't get. But that's been pretty cool. And I'm always looking for like monsties that have those navigation abilities because I'm like, okay, I got this one. He's not very good. He's got the navigation ability, but I really like to get that one. So
Yeah.
I'm always
I,
just like chasing after a new monstie.
the gene system though, I have questions about that because
Go for it.
I mean that is the beautiful hook of this game and the true end game. And what I loved was like in the first one, and I'm sure they'll do it in this one as well. That once you hit end game, it didn't matter anymore that if you got a monster and it was missing a slot, you could unlock slots. Like you can add slots to monsters. So like if it
They've
didn't have one, what?
they've talked about that in a tutorial in this one. I haven't used the item that supposedly does that, but I think that there's an
So
item.
stimulant or whatever.
Yeah, I think that there's items in the bottle cap vendor that do that for you. It's
Yeah,
just
and I
I'm
imagine
being
post game it'll
really
be unlimited.
I'm being really stingy with the bottle caps because so far in my current progression I know that they're limited. And it's funny I say I'm stingy. I've wasted like probably 20 of them in stupid haircuts that I'm not going to use. Like
Yeah, the Yang
I got
Cuckoo
I
haircut.
got the Yan Kutku haircut because I was curious to see what it looked like, and then I put it in my character and gives him like a Yan
Nope.
Kutku
Yeah,
crest, and I was like,
it's
no,
funny.
make it go away. What is this? Friggin' nightmare fuel of a haircut.
Yeah, but I mean, the first game was really good in that. Once you get the post game, which is where PvP really opens up, and also the end game dungeons were really hard. To the point that when every little change that you make to a monster, you can't appreciate the difference that it provides.
Yeah,
They had ways that you can get because there's so many monsters in the game. They won't limit stuff, but I think as you go through the story, it is important, right? Like you look at when you get an egg of a monster that has a really good bingos at the get go, it could be a godsend. You'd be like, oh, this is sweet, and it can really help you out. But there's always various ways that you can tweak a monster or get a better monster in order to progress. So I always found my problem was is I stopped naming my monsters when I got them because I would find a version of them that I liked more, and then I would transfer something over, and then I would keep renewing and throwing away my
yeah.
old one, and then eventually until once I got to end game, I'm like, okay, this is my palette, my template. I'm not replacing him. This is who I'm working with, and then I'd give him a name and get all attached and
So either
stuff
I'm
like that.
mistaken or the ritual of channeling works differently in the first stories because you were just talking about how you would look for, okay, I need a monster that has a red power on the bottom right, right? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
on this one, I can just pick up a red power from anywhere and place it anywhere.
Damn. I hope my memory is serving me correctly, but I mean, I remember very clearly that it mattered the location. Also, I there was certain things where like the Gold Rathian. This is more end game content, but like there was a skill that was really good that you want on all your monsters, but it only ever appears in a very specific slot on the bingo grid. So it means that you have to reshuffle and rethink how you want to do your bingo grids because if you want to give that skill, it's got to take that slot, right? And then you've got to go, okay, well, how do I want to shuffle it? How do I want to do it?
From the stuff that I've done so far, I've been able to just, pick up a slot from any monster and place it
Wow.
anywhere on a different monster. So I already have, like, for instance, a technical monster that has full technical slots.
Oh,
It's just
wow.
full of technical
Wow.
slots. I also have a power monster that is full of power slots. And I have a bunch of
Oh,
like rainbow
man.
jeans as well, because I remember people talking about rainbow jeans. Like, dude, I have a bunch of them. I have a bunch of rainbow jeans. They're not rare at all. So
I was gonna say at the end, I was gonna say in the end, I almost feel like a rainbow gene is not gonna be an ideal thing to use, especially in like PvP because you don't get any skills from a rainbow gene, right? It just allows you to connect a lot of bingos.
it gives you the bingos. Yeah, you don't get skills. No, I mean that's the thing though. Like I have full technical, but I maybe don't have a whole lot of skills because I'm focusing more on the bingo right now. I mean, I'm basically focusing on getting stuff that I think is interesting. So I have a Rathian that's got like critical FM, critical FS, and then heals on critical.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's like a neat combination. It's not like super meta, obviously, because I'm not at the end game yet. But it's an interesting combo that I'm doing. That same Rathian also shoots snowballs. She does like an animation for the tail swipe, like when Diablo slaps his tail on the ground. She does something similar to that,
Yeah.
and then a snowball comes.
I don't. If people didn't play the first game, it's impossible to articulate just how fun it is to not only play with the monsters as they are and enjoy them for who they are, but also to mess with them.
Yeah,
It is just it's endless fun, and I think the PvP is gonna be so fun on this because you can't see what the opponent has. So it's like I don't know what genes they got set up. I don't know what attacks they got set up. I don't know anything. So like
the one
you've really got to make versatile teams and monsters.
The one thing that I would like, and I'm not sure how it works because it would require a significant investment of time and genes to figure out. But one thing I would like is, say, for instance, so Rathian is a speed type by base. Imagine if I would just fill up her gene pool with power. It'd be really cool if she would just start attacking with power instead of attacking with speed, but I don't think they do that, do they?
I don't think so. No, I was going to ask you. This is a question that I had because there's conflicting information online, which is in the first game. If you gave a monster enough bingo slots and skills and passive skills of a certain element, I think it was like 5 or 6 out of the 9 that you had, it would change. It would visually change the color of the monster. They would become that element. So, like, if you gave a Rathian, like, I don't know, 5 ice passives or skills, she would become an ice Rathian, and she'd be blue tinted, and it was really cool. And you could change their element. I know in the demo, at least, you can scout an Abnatoth that has enough fire stuff on it randomly that it appears red. So it makes me think that they still have that system. I just don't know if they would. I can't imagine they would limit it to only pulling, but I'm kind of curious about that. But that
I
was a very end game thing, so I don't know if you would
No,
know.
I don't have enough. I don't have enough genes to pull something like that off. Because like I've been focusing my genes on just min maxing the attack types right now, as opposed to the elemental. So that's why you have a Rathian that shoots snowballs because it doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense. But it gives me speed type for the bingo. So that's what I've been focusing on. But
nice.
yeah,
It's such a good long fun. You know what the game reminds me more of than anything? It doesn't remind me of Pokemon at all, actually.
Yeah.
It's just it's much more dynamic than that. And I'm not dissing Pokemon. There's beauty in that simplicity, actually, and that's why people like it. But have you ever played Dragon Quest Monsters?
Dragon Quest Monsters. Is that the one that's in
It's
the
where like it's
No.
like you could take like two slimes and you can fuse them together to make like a new type of slime. And by taking this boss and
Oh.
this boss, you can fuse them and you can make this boss. And it's like just crazy melding of monsters. And you collect monsters and you fuse them and you make rare ones. And it kind of reminds me of that. And that's a really fun game. Like Terry's Wonderland remake on 3DS was just fantastic. But that game had a problem was that they serialized it, so it came out like every few years, but it was like the same game every time, just a few
Yeah.
like a different story. And I was just like, nah, I'm not. Once you've done that so many times, you're just like, okay, I'm good. And then they had like exclusives, like you couldn't get certain monsters unless you went to a station in Japan, and this is like, I'm not, nah.
That
So
sounds
like,
like some Pokemon Go level of stuff. That's just like
yeah, but
you gotta go
it
at
was
your
an interesting
Pokestop.
system. But like you could easily just drop an entire weekend just goofing around, like making two monsters just for fun, and it's
Oh
totally
yeah.
fun and worth it.
Oh yeah, just like the min maxing of the monsters through the gene system is going to be completely insane.
Fun.
Like that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why I've spent so much time without advancing the stories, because I'm constantly thinking, oh man, I should put this thing in this monster, and then I realize, oh,
Yeah,
I can then combo this with my own weapon, and then there's even combinations that you can do with the weapons that I don't think you had these in Stories 1. So, like for instance, you can have a hammer that has poison, and it will have like a skill. There'll be, I think it's called Poison Chaser or something like that. And for starters, every skill that you have on weapons in this one, like you've seen in the demo, you get 3 different versions of it, which is one for each attack type. But so if you have a poison hammer, and it will have like the poison chaser thing, it'll basically deal more damage with your attack if you hit a monster that is poisoned. So you can do combos like you can have, say, a Rathian with the tail swipe that poisons monsters with a weapon that has like the poison chaser ability, and you can combo those two things together to deal additional damage.
oh man,
And there's also like sleep chaser. There's para chaser. There's a chaser for all of the status effects, from what I can tell. And
yeah, they're
yeah,
really doubling down on the hunters in this game. Like it was not that deep. Like even with the whole new system of like being able to change, your weapons every turn, once a turn, and it's free. Like they don't penalize you for it, and
there
you're
is
supposed to.
there is a bit
Do
of a
they penalize
penalty.
you?
There is a bit of a penalty depending on the weapon that you use. So, like for instance, well, actually, it's kind of weird. I don't know exactly how it works because of the. Basically, I try to use the gun lance whenever I can, and when I can't use the gun lance, if I can use the sword and shield, I'll use that. So there's a lot of things that I haven't messed around with, but like the idea here is, in order for you to get access to the big hammer attacks, for instance, you need
Yeah, charge it up.
you got to charge it up. And so if you switch weapons, you're not going to have
You
access to
lose your
those big.
charge.
I don't think you lose the charge, because like I don't lose the shells in the gun lance, but I can't use them either. They're just like sitting there in the gun lance while I'm swapping to another weapon. So it's kind of like there is a little bit of a push and pull there. It's not just like I'm a swap weapon every time I can. You do have
Yeah,
to
and it's
consider.
only once per turn as well. Yeah, so
Yeah, same thing with Monsties. You can swap once per turn with, and that actually has. The only penalty is obviously the kinship gauge, because say you got max kinship with a Velocidrome
Yeah.
and you swap into a Bulldrome, you got no kinship. It's just gone.
Yeah, that
But-
and that and the AI,
but you
at
can
least in the
swap-
demo, the AI is like, I wonder what I'm gonna do, and they change their mind when you swap out your monster. I don't know if they do that in the full game.
Mm,
Like for example, in the demo, if you started out and Kana and her monster were like, okay, we're both doing speed attacks, and you changed out your monstie, they would actually take a second to reconsider what they're doing. And they
Oh.
would change. It would random, which was a really interesting thing, because if I didn't like what they were doing, I would actually swap out the monster at the chance that they would actually sync up better. And then I would decide what I want to do based on that. Like, oh, she's going to go for an attack. Well, crap. I'll have my Bullfango go for an attack then.
I think
I'll let
I
them get the
noticed. I think I noticed that on healing, where sometimes the NPC would be healing my Monstie, but I wanted to swap it out, so I'd swap it out and he would do something else. I think I saw that happen, but I didn't pay too
Yeah.
much attention to that specific aspect of it.
Yeah, I loved that feature in the demo. I saw that, I was like, oh, that's cool. Because that adds in yet another layer of things that you could care about. And I want to reiterate, I haven't played Stories 2 outside the demo. I don't know, but I'm assuming based on my extensive experience with the first game that it sounds daunting what we're talking about, all these different elements at play and all these different things that you can it's literally icing on the cake. I think you don't have to engage in these
Yeah, no.
systems at a deep level. You could just have fun. It's not, at least the first game was not a particularly hard game until you got into like the end game content.
That was actually one of the things that I was considering, which is I was going through the game and the combat has this thing for those of you that haven't played the demo, because there are some people that are going to get it on PC. They haven't had a chance to play the demo. But combat has this thing where you engage in combat with a monster, you fight, and you're thinking about your HP and all that. But in reality, you have 3 lives. So they can take your HP down to 0 and you get full health again. And then they can take it down to 0 again and you get full health again. And then they have to take it down to 0 again in order for you to actually die. You or your Monstie, though, because the Monstie also counts. So if they take your Monstie health down to 0, that also takes a heart. So if you only have 2 hearts left and they hit you and your Monstie at the same time and kill you both, you still lose.
You're over.
But the point of this is that throughout my 35 hours, I've only ever lost 1 heart. And it's been like, I don't know, 3-4 times tops. And I've never lost more than 1 heart. So it's like, oh, no, wait, no, never mind. There are royal monsters. I got killed. I actually got just flat out killed. Were there royal monsters in the original stories?
I don't even know what that means.
So this is not a spoiler because people know that T-Rex is in the game. I mean, Capcom has promoted it heavily, so they know this. So in the second zone that you go to, you'll see T-Rex is there, but they're sleeping. And when you approach them, Naviru will say something like, "That's a royal monster."
Don't mess with.
Yeah, he's like, "That's a royal monster. We better sneak by." And me in my arrogance, I'm like, "Royal schmoil."
Yeah, right.
I go in there.
I can take him.
I go in there, I start attacking, and like this T-Rex just like slaps me twice, heart gone. And I was like, no.
Oh.
And then he slaps my Monstie once, kills him, and I'm like, what the hell? Stop. He just like slapped me around, killed me. So it's like, if you're looking for a challenge, go kill royal monsters. Go have fun with that.
Listen, so I guess are they mixing in where you have like both low rank and a royal low rank, and then a high rank, and then a royal high rank? Sounds like that might be the case.
I don't know. Cool. I don't know what the deal is with them. All I know is that after I fought that one, I was like, okay, I'm not going to mess with royal monsters.
Not ready.
It was because it wasn't even close, right? There wasn't even something where I was like, you know, if I played that, it was like, no, dude, I was nowhere close to beating that. so
I love the tension also of like when you first encounter a monster, like a boss or something you haven't, that you don't know where their HP is. It's so exciting and it's so tense. Because, like you said, it keeps you on edge,
and it keeps that same aspect that you get with traditional Monster Hunter, where you just don't know the monster's health. You have to study it. Now, it does become pretty obvious because when they're about to die, they start like drooling and stuff. And you're like, okay, you're about to go. I can tell. But it's really cool because one of the things that I've noticed is that some people seem to think that it's just rock, paper, scissors because they hear about the power, technical, and speed.
Yeah.
And what they don't realize is that when a monster enrages, he changes his pattern, and then certain monsters have like special mechanics, like a Tobi-Kadachi will charge up his tail, a Legiana will start
there's
flying.
A lot of skills that don't have an element. Yeah,
and there's also
not assigned
skills,
any of those.
that don't have as skills both on monsters and players. So like Wyvern Fire does not have like one of those things.
It's a pro and con system, right? Like, because you can't beat them in a head-on, but they can't also prevent you from doing your attack. You know you're going to pull it off. So it's like, it's a super interesting, wonderful system that it's simplistic, but the way they formulated it just made it so dynamic and the fact that I don't think you could even do it if it wasn't turn-based. There's just too much depth there.
Yeah,
you have so much to consider.
There's so much happening. One of the things that I would almost like is I don't know. It's kind of weird because each area is obviously going to have different monsters of different elements. So for you to plan your build around the elemental advantage becomes quite challenging. So like I'll run around with
Mm,
a fire sword and shield. I crafted the Anjanath one, and I'm running around with that. But it's not like I'm going to swap to a different sword and shield if I'm attacking a monster that has fire. So
yeah.
but I don't know. Maybe in endgame, maybe I will just craft like one of each element, and then I see the monster and I'll swap based on that monster because you do notice like the elemental damage system here is significant. It gives you,
Meaningful, yeah.
yeah, it gives you a decent boost in damage, which is weird. Why can't they do that in the mainline games? Like Capcom, please.
Yeah. The end game I remember in Stories 1 was sublimely tuned. Like they really nailed it. Like it gave you a really good challenge. And like you said, you only get 3 hearts, so it's like one foul move or bad setup, and that could be it, you know.
Yeah.
So everything counts, which I really enjoyed. So I'm curious, are you playing mostly on times 1 speed, or have you just gone straight up to times 3 speed?
I play times 1 speed, but that's because I just like the animations. I just love the animations, and I
Mm,
don't like the way that the animations play out on the top speed because the game already has some performance issues. Like if you play the demo, you've noticed it, and I can tell you
yeah,
in the final game, it's pretty much the same
it's the
thing.
same.
So the frame rate is still uncapped. It goes between 60 and whatever. Depending on where you are, there's still the pop in thing. So, like if you're in a place with a lot of foliage, you'll notice the pop in of the foliage as you are moving forward. Like all of that stuff is still there, which I wish they had just optimized it for 30 instead of leaving it uncapped.
Yeah,
Because I think they could have gotten, like a steadier 30 instead of going like up and down and up and down, because nobody likes that. But yeah, that's one of the things. And with the frame rate the way that it is, if you speed it up, you start to feel the frame drops even more during combat. And I'm
yeah,
just like, it just doesn't feel smooth. Like every now and then, what I'll do, because they do something really good, which is with some NPCs, they have really long animations whenever they do their kinship skills, right? Even Kanya, when she does her kinship skill, oh, here we go, and Velocidrome goes up, and the attack and whatnot. You can just skip that. They let you skip that if you hold the plus button while they're doing that animation. So it's like
yeah,
instead of putting it in fast forward, if I don't feel like watching my AI companion's animation, I'll just skip it and it's fine. You can
yeah.
also skip like the double kinship abilities and all that.
I really liked in the demo, like if you go to your room, there's the gallery, and instead of just allowing you to see the like a generic kinship attack, um, like that you've done at least once, it actually shows you the exact version that you did. Like if you go under kinship attacks, like if Kana had a kinship that she did with her monster at night, like all that would be reflected, and then you can choose like, okay, I have both day, noon, and night unlocked, and I have this character with this monster, and it was really in depth. I was really surprised.
Interesting. I haven't actually looked at the gallery at all. I've just been out in the world and collecting monsties and materials. I pick up so much stuff like because around every nest there's like nodes of
Oh yeah,
different things of bones and
oh
whatnot.
yeah, and that's where you
And
get the good stuff. Yeah.
always before I go to the nest, I'm always running around because I
Meow.
remember seeing the co-op footage from Ryozu and the other
Yeah.
developer, and they just skip all that stuff and go straight for the eggs. I'm like, no,
You're
you
like,
can't do
no.
that. You need to pick up all
Especially
those.
when you get that rare little ring in your ear, and you're like, oh,
Oh yeah,
there's a rare collection spot. Yeah, that was the same in the first game. Like you would get to the end, and you'd be like, zoop, 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 zoop. Sometimes I'd be going into caverns just to collect. Like it's just you just do a full lap, and there was a monster, and it's like, oh, we don't. I'm like, I don't care. I was like, I'm getting my drops.
but that's the good thing about monsters at this point when you're grinding as well is that if you're a high enough level, you can just like
Yeah,
end the
just
fight.
boom, one turn kill. Yeah.
Although I would
Good point.
almost wish that if you are at that level, monsters wouldn't chase you. Like at least monsters that aren't a threat. I feel like they shouldn't chase you because
Have
what ends up
you?
happening is just a loading screen. It's a loading
Well, the
screen,
thing
and then
is,
you press two buttons and they die, and it's another loading
no,
screen.
even in the demo, I've noticed if you get to a certain level, they will run from you. And there's also monsters that have abilities that like the roar. If you do the roar, it will actually
It'll stop them.
scatter. It'll scatter all. Like if you're higher level, they'll all scatter and be like, "I'm out of here."
That I haven't noticed that.
I think the difference is the egg den. The egg den seems to be if you piss off the monster in the egg den, they will attack you regardless of level. But regular monsters, you can roar and get rid of them really easily.
Weird. I haven't experienced that. Like every single
Maybe,
time that I
maybe
go
your hunter
anywhere.
needs to level up some more. Maybe you need to get good.
Maybe.
Maybe they're looking at you and they're like, "He's a chump. I could take him."
Yeah, and then they attack me and I press two buttons and they die.
Oh, you're gone. What are you doing? Get out of here.
They even call that like flash fast or something like that. It's like boom, 500 points, and I was like, yeah, I didn't I didn't actually mean to kill him, but they got in the way.
That's
But
hilarious.
I don't know. I feel like that system could be a little bit better. Like if I'm at that point where I can just like one
Yeah.
shot them, that the game actually
Don't even
because the
get
game
yeah.
actually has a mechanic that lets you one shot them. Like don't make them chase me. They don't have to run away because I can dodge around them. It's not a big problem. But just don't make them chase me. I feel like would be a better system.
Yeah, I can't remember which monster it was, but maybe it was Tigrex, but I remember in the first game I was constantly using roar monsters where I just run around going ah, and like everything was just like ah, and like running away from me. It was fun.
Yeah, well, I noticed that with the roar monsters, they stay in place, but they don't run away. They will stay in place. They'll be like, oh, just like not move, but they still will not run away.
So I have like a little list of all these questions I want to ask you, but I guess while we're on the topic, is there any without being too spoilery? Is there any neat feature that you've found on a monster, like a field skill? Because all the monsters have a field skill, right? Whether it's like I don't know if people know this, but in the demo, if you grab a was it young cuckoo, it has the scan ability where if you press B, it'll go boing, and it'll highlight the names of monsters and items around you on the map. If you go to the waterfall where there's a young cuckoo and you beat it, and you go to the very edge of the waterfall and you hit B, it'll actually scan and show you a little part of the area that you can't go to in the demo. And they have very purposely set there a I don't remember that it was a crimson Kurapeko, a green Nargacuga, and there was another monster and I'm forgetting it. But yeah, there's some. Oh, the Ashen Kechawacha. So they had you can actually see that they're in the game in the demo. It's kind of funny.
It's funny you talk about that area because 35 hours in, I still can't get there.
What?
I keep going back like, did I miss something? Is there maybe a hole in the ground I can dig through? Is there some vine I can climb? I think you need the fly ability because I mean, they make it pretty
Probably,
obvious
yeah.
in the demo that, when you look into the distance, there's like an island really tall with an Everthen in there. And you're like, okay, eventually they're going to give me the ability to fly so that I can go there because there's no jumping mark for the Velociraptor. There's no climbing vines, nothing. So eventually you get flight. And I'm assuming that to get to
That's
that
the other
area that
thing
you're
that
talking
yeah.
about is going to be
I'm
flight.
just curious. Is there any field skill that you really like or that you use a lot?
Not really. I don't know if it's because the monsties that I tend to use just don't have great field skills. Like the more useful one is definitely the one that you talked about, the Yan Kutku, because he can detect monster dens. That's the more useful one. But besides that one, I don't really. I mean, I just use the navigation ones mostly. No real field abilities, at least from the monsties that I've found so far. So.
Yeah, that's what I enjoyed about the end game of Monster Hunter Stories 1 is that there was hidden Poogies all throughout the game, and if you found all of them, you got an egg for the Great Poogie. It was a special monster, and it had a field skill which was like super bum rush. Like he would run so fast that it's like hyperspeed, and you were able to run through areas at lightning speed, which just made farming gold dens in high or red dens at that point, because once you get into high rank they change color. The high rank dens was much easier to farm using him as just for his field skill. It was really funny. But I love how they reuse areas where you get like a flying monster and then you go back and it's like, oh my god, there was a whole dungeon here that I
Yeah.
wasn't able to access earlier on. That's awesome. And I loved in the demo how you were able to access the fast travel like anywhere. You can just open up the map and
Yep.
immediately just go. Bzzoom. That's a huge quality of life over the first game.
Earlier in the game, I wasn't using that at all, except to go back and forward to the village because I would always want to exit the village as opposed to teleporting to a specific location, so that I would be like, okay, let me go through here and see if I can maybe find rare dens or whatever. And this is why I spent so many hours playing the game without advancing the story, because
Yeah,
I'd be
that's
constantly
seen
running
something.
through.
Oh, I want that.
Yeah,
It's like okay, I'll make a small detour.
yeah, exactly. And
So I guess if you don't have monsters with a lot of field skills, maybe you don't know. But I'm kind of curious if they added a feature where you can more quicker swap between monsters on the field.
oh, it
Like
is
if you,
super fast. Like basically,
'cause in the demo you had to like go open up and you had to change your main, and then
I don't
and then
think you had to do that in the demo. You can just press
what?
B. Yeah, like say for instance you have Yan Kutku, you run up to the rocks that you can break, you press B,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah, for
Naviru
that.
asks you, well, what were you asking?
I mean, like if I'm just in the middle of a field and I want to swap between Yankuku and Tigrex or something like that,
Oh
is
no,
there a quick action where I can just swap them? And I probably not because they need to load in the assets. But
no, you have to go, and you know
into
it's
the
one of those things. Unless you're going to a thing where you can jump here, you can climb here. No, you
yeah,
have
and
to
they make
manually
that
go
really
into
easy. Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, they give you Naviru gives you a message like, "Hey, we have a monster that can help us here. Do you want the?" And then they give you another message which goes like, "Hey, do you want to change to this monster?" You can remove that second message so that you just go
Oh
in there, you
wow.
press B, instantly swaps, boom, good to go.
Oh, that's a good. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah,
So that brings me to another question. So how I am in love. Maybe in love is a strong word. I enjoy
I like you too,
Naruto.
Gaijin.
I know. I like the character in Japanese. I love the voice actress who does him. She's Mao is just hilarious, and she does a lot of characters from other games and shows and stuff that I like. But her interpretation of that character is I love. But I know a lot of people either don't even like the Japanese or they just don't like the stereotype character. He seems like he's less annoying this time because he was kind of like the dumb idiot in Monster Hunter Stories 1 where like he would just say stupid stuff all the time, but now he's like they mentioned in the stream, right? Like the developer mentioned that he's a bit mature, he's a little bit more helpful now, and a little less grady because he actually has confidence and he actually knows what he's talking about. Where he would constantly tell you the wrong thing in the first game. He was just an idiot, and that was the funny part. How are you liking him, and also specifically, what language are you playing on for voice, and how
Yeah,
do you feel about it?
that's the thing because I kept hearing people complain about Naviru's voice in English. I don't have a single problem with it. I like it. Like I think it's
I was
fine.
just saying because I was watching streams of the English version. I gotta say I was really impressed with the demo. The voice work in English sounded really good. Like
Yeah,
it's really solid.
I agree. I think that the voice acting in English is really good, which is why I've been playing in English because I've tested out in Japanese as well, and I think Japanese is obviously friggin' amazing, but at the same time, I feel like they did a really good job with the English voiceover, at least so far. I've still heard people
Yeah.
complain about Naviru, but I'm like I don't have a problem with Naviru. I don't know if it's because maybe I watched
Cat
too
puns
many.
or
No, maybe I just watch too many Saturday morning cartoons because he does have one of those kind of voices, like I believe you mentioned
yeah.
that once. And to me, it just doesn't bother me at all. I'm like, yeah, it's all right. It's cool. And in regards to how he acts, he has some of his funny moments as well, where he'll say something and the other characters will reply and he'll be like, what? He'll be like stuck processing and the other characters just like leave him behind and keep walking. So he'll have moments like that. But most of the times he's not useless and he's not an idiot. Like he will say stuff like
he's a. You're happy to have him along, right?
yeah. I'm cool with Naviru. I don't have an issue.
Awesome. Yeah, his whole thing in the first game was he was just so cocky that he went and he was wrong most of the time. Anyways, it was really funny.
He's still pretty
But in the
cocky.
end,
He's still pretty cocky in here. Yeah, he keeps the cockiness.
that's good. So I was gonna ask. It's a really hard thing to judge because these games are not. I don't think it's designed to be that challenging when you're going through just the main story because they have such a rich end game. And this game seems like the end game is super rich because that's where they're having all the deviants and the elder dragons, which they've announced is all end game. And all the DLC is going to be end game stuff as well. So I'm kind of curious, how do you feel about the difficulty of the game so far? Then again, if you're stopping and you're doing all these scenes, you're probably
I'm over
leveling yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far it hasn't really been challenging at all. Like I said, I've only lost one heart
just
here
fun.
and there. And the reason I lose those hearts is because sometimes I'll just be like, I'm just gonna hit you with my gun lance anyway. I don't care. I'm gonna shell you to death. And sometimes the monsters will be like, well, now here's an AoE attack, and I'm like, no, don't do that. That hurts. Because that hits.
Have you run into a lot of bosses, or do you feel that you're taking it quite slow?
Have I run into a lot of bosses? Well, the structure of the game seems to be from the I've done like 3 villages up until this point, and I'm pretty sure that the point that I'm at, I'm leaving village number 3. And it's like you usually do a couple of quests for them. Like the structure has been even the same thing as in the demo, right? You're in Hakolo Village or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, go over here and do this thing," and then you go back and they're like, "And now go over there and do that thing," and it's the same thing. But things started getting a lot more interesting in the 3rd village because they sent me to do one thing, and then I pretty much just fought 2 bosses in a row. And at the end of the 2nd boss, there was a really cool cutscene that I'm not going to get into details. But that cutscene, it was like, up until that point, I'm like, yeah, pretty cool. You know, it's JRPG. It's fine. It's cool. I'm having fun. Then I saw that cutscene, and I was like, holy crap, what the hell? It's like, the story started going places, and I'm super hyped to see where it goes because it hasn't gotten to one of the things that I really wanted to get to, which is if you watch the trailers, you realize that the game appears to be building up to some kind of a confrontation between the riders and the hunters, and the scriveners are involved. So there's probably going to be like secrets of the guild, which are all things that I'm fascinated by. And those are the things that I really want to see. And the thing that I got in that cutscene had nothing to do with any of that. And it was also amazing. And I was like, God damn, this is looking good. And I like what they're doing with it.
So I'm going to cheat because I already know the answer to this. But the thing that interests me the most is them. It seems like they're going to dive deeper into Wyverian lore than they ever have before. The fact that they already mentioned in the demo that there's a Wyverian-only village. And we've got the best waifu in the game, who I'm sure is going to be Yumlana. And I was asking, my first thing I couldn't resist. I asked you the other day. I was like, "Is she best waifu or what?" And you're like, "I haven't met her." I'm like, "What?"
I haven't even met her, and I have been to the Wyverian only village, and I don't remember seeing her there.
What?
Maybe she shows up later. Maybe there's more Wyverian only villages. I don't know.
Oh, that's crazy. Now I'm really excited for that aspect, and I'll be talking to all the villagers and just soaking up. I mean, I know technically they said that I think Stories takes place in its own contained universe from like the mainline Monster Hunter games, but it's still very much it's very authentically Monster Hunter. So the lore and the stuff that they establish is not far off from what they pull from on the main games. So it's gonna be really interesting to see.
In a lot of ways, that is one of the things that I really want to see out of Stories too, is Monster Hunter lore, because you get nuggets here and there in the main games, but in this one, at least it feels like this one's going to give you some meaningful things, whereas you have to really go looking for it in the other games. And, you know, most people will probably do it like me and just end up looking at the wiki and whatnot. Or just invite Bandino and Kogath to the podcast and ask them about it.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
So I've got a bunch of random questions that I'll just start throwing at you now.
Go for it.
So I can cross off my list. How much of a babe is Yumlana? Because you haven't met her yet. So
No, sorry.
sorry, that's who I'm simping for. I know there's a lot of people who are into Kana, but I'm captivated by her. Just I can't wait to meet her.
So far, Kana is
Um,
best gal.
she's a really good personality. Like I mean,
Yep.
she is a bundle of joy, and she's just I don't know what the right word because she's not. It's not like she's sexy. It's not like she's hot. It's not like she's waifu. It's not like she's big sis. It's kind of like she's just there's she should be someone I would want to know in real life. You know, she just seems very welcoming and fun, and I don't know,
I've met
girlfriend material. There you go.
I've met Avinia though, which I believe she was in Stories 1, right?
Yeah.
They go into her
Yeah.
backstory a little bit. I don't know how much of that takes place in Stories 1, but it was very interesting.
The anime is pretty much all about her backstory, especially
Oh, okay.
we had a follow-up season which was never released, I think, outside of Japan, and that was pretty much purely based on her backstory. So she's a pretty important figure in the universe of Monster Hunter Stories.
Yeah, so you get a very significant story interaction with her, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is crazy." So yeah, that's one of the
Let's see here.
things.
Okay, so I was gonna ask, how early in the game is gene editing introduced? Is it fairly early?
Second
The rite of
village.
channeling. Okay,
Second
yeah. So
village.
it was
So it's
pretty
like
early in the first game as well.
if you beeline it, like assuming that you do, I don't know, 4 hours in the demo, maybe you can even do three. I would say 5 6 hours you probably got gene editing if you're just like beelining through the main story quest.
Okay, which you shouldn't do, I don't
Yeah,
think. But
it
it's
took
up
me
to
a
you.
while. It
Whatever,
took me a
however
while
you like it.
longer. I think for me it was like 10 hours or something along those lines. I got right of channeling.
Yeah. Do you regret having played the demo so much and having a head start on the game,
Nope.
or do you think it's totally fine?
Not only I think it's fine, I would actually recommend it because, as with most JRPGs, Stories 2 is a little bit front loaded. So, you get all those tutorials early on. The demo just gives you a chance of getting rid of all of that early. So, you have to do
Yeah.
less tutorials. It's not like the game is particularly complicated. So, you just get those out of the way and move on. So, no, it's fine.
Cool. Have you been playing it in TV only, or have you tried it in handheld?
I've played both. I think handheld has a little bit better performance if I was
Yeah.
to take a guess.
Yeah,
Um,
I noticed that in the demo. Yeah.
but other than that, I think both of them look friggin' fantastic.
Nice. Have you noticed any significant difference between night and day? Because I know like there's the time zones when you leave, and it does change which monsters might appear. And if you're doing a sub quest, I know that certain ones only appear during night and some appear during the day. But is there any other significant differences that you've noticed that are worth mentioning that aren't spoilery?
No, I didn't really. I mean, usually most of the time I head out of the village, I'll do afternoon because I don't really go out of my way to complete side quests. What I've been doing is I
Hmm.
go to the board and I'll pick up every single side quest that is there except the livery ones that I've already completed, right? So, like anything that's a slay quest, I'll pick it up. But then I won't go out looking for the monsters. I'll just go out doing whatever I feel like doing. If I run into
Eventually, you'll
them,
find it.
yeah, if I run into it, fine. If I don't run into it, fine. Because most of the rewards for those side quests are not that big a deal.
Just
Every
money and
now,
experience. Yeah.
yeah, every now and then I'll exit a village in what do they call it? Evening time. I think they don't call it night. They call it
Yeah. Yeah.
afternoon and evening, right? Which is weird
Yeah.
because you go outside and it's still daytime. Like you still see
Yeah. It
like
takes a little
there's still
bit.
it takes a long time before it actually goes nighttime. But I've gone outside in nighttime a couple of times and I haven't noticed massive differences. So, but again, most of the time I go in afternoon because you see it's that what were you calling it from the polls, the bias because of the order in which the options are in. It's like afternoon's the first one, so I'm like, yep, let's go afternoon, daytime. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
It reminds me of that psychological trick when you know like you, I can't remember what it was called but it's like you call like a pizza shop, and we used to play the trick. I worked at a pizza place just for a few months for fun when I was younger, and it actually works. Like if someone orders a pizza and you'd be like, okay, what toppings would you like on your second pizza? Even though they didn't mention that they wanted a second pizza, you'd be surprised how many times people will just run with it. Oh, yeah, let's make a song. Like, I mean, without knowing for sure, like they were gonna order, but you could tell from their voice that they weren't planning on it. But you've now suggested it, and it's like, so would you like not to have a second pizza? It's like, it's really weird.
It's like that. It's like that thing that I think they used to do this in U.S. McDonald's, where you'd go to McDonald's and they'd be like, "So you want to supersize that?"
Supersize it.
And people were like, "Yeah, sure."
Good God, I could not manage that amount of food, even at my weight. Okay, so let's see here. This is something that the first game did really well, so I'm expecting you to be like, oh yeah, where because you're constantly getting new monsters, some people are concerned about, is it a pain in the ass to level them up? The first game had a really good system where like they would get beyond the first levels like really fast, and it was not painful at all. Like you were never really grinding to level them up. Like,
Well,
is the leveling done pretty well this time?
the thing here is usually you get different monsties, and each of them will have like their own specialty, right? You got 6 slots, so you want to have 2 power. At least the way that I think about it is I want to have 2 power, 2 technical, and 2 speed to have like a difference of monsties. So whenever you replace one, what I end up doing is I just put them in the party and I don't even worry about it. I just use the other one of that type while that one is leveling up. But they level up really fast. But they level up super fast. So long as you don't use it, like if you don't need to use it right away, it'll level up super fast. But then there's also the trick that you mentioned, which is you can just do turn-in quests if you want to. You can just go to the quest board and like turn in a bunch of meat or whatever, and they'll level up fast. Like I think one of those quests alone will be like 4 levels on a level 1 monstie. Just like straight up, boom. So they level up really fast. I never even worry about it. Like even just now, earlier today, I changed my monstie loadout. Because I found a good monstie and I'm like, okay, I want this one on my team. I just put it on my team and it will level up. Like doesn't matter what I do, it'll level up. And by the time I need him, he'll be ready to go. So I never even
what I liked about I love what they
it.
did in the first game. They spaced it out so that because it's so story focused, and not open world, like they made the gaps between the experience points you get from one area to the next one so large that you can't insanely overlevel yourself in one area without going out of your way. And then when you get to the next area, it's like everyone's just getting experience like crazy, and it's just like it's really easy to catch up to where they need to be, which I liked. So
yeah,
that's good to hear.
That's pretty much the same way that I feel. I never really worry if I have a low level monster. I'm like, it's whatever. It'll be fine.
Cool. Also, I don't think we mentioned which platform are you you're playing on Switch, right?
I'm playing on Switch. We talked about the performance stuff. That it's a good thing that you talked about because people are like, oh, so it runs bad on PC as well. No, as far as I'm aware, on PC it runs great. Eric's has like a comparison video that he did.
Yeah.
So it looks really good on PC. It's just for me, the portability and the convenience of the Switch overtakes the playing it on the PC because I'm constantly going. Constantly going between studio and home, and the Switch is just easy to carry around.
I kind of assume that the PvP scene, I don't know how big it's going to be because Monster Hunter Stories 1 was such a niche game, but I don't think, with the name power that Monster has now, I don't think it's going to be that niche. But the PvP is such a cool feature. I wonder, my guess is that the PvP scene on Switch is going to be pretty hot. It's going to be pretty good.
It's a good thing that I did a poll asking people where they're going to buy Monster Hunter Stories 2. How convenient. I got 18,000 votes, and I have 49%.
18,000, nice.
Yeah. I have 49% of people saying they're going to buy it on the Switch. 12% of
Okay.
people saying they're going to buy it on Steam. And there's 39% of people that are not going to buy it. And I'm just like, why? Game is so good. But yeah,
I know.
there's a huge skew towards Switch, at least in my audience. So it just
Yeah,
makes more
it
sense for me
seems
to
to
play
be
on
the
Switch
case.
as
Yeah.
well.
It is also worth mentioning that I think from watching Eric's video that the performance on PC looks phenomenal and it
Yeah,
seems to be very lightweight. So a great choice if you and your friends all play on PC. But I don't think it's not going to like look dramatically different. It's a performance thing. It's not like they're high resolution. The textures are crazy different or anything like that. It's just
I think
it's more
the
crisp and it runs better.
yeah, I think the resolution is going to be a factor because you do see a couple of jaggies on the Switch.
Mm,
Like nothing that's a game breaker. Like I think the game looks gorgeous because that art style does, that's where you get most of the enjoyment. So it's like you see a couple of jaggies here and there. It's not a big deal. But on the PC, obviously, you're going to get it crisp and silky smooth, according to Eric. So
nice. So I was going to ask, have you tried any co-op yet? Because it's so interesting that they put such an emphasis on the co-op feature that it's like on your guild card, it's listed like how many co-op dungeons have you done, how many co-op monsters. You got the co-op DLC coming in, so co-op seems like it's going to be quite a thing. It's its own separate thing, but I'm curious. I can't imagine you've had the opportunity because I mean you could
no.
do it with an NPC, right? I
Yeah,
think if
you
you
can.
tried co-op, you could
Yeah,
do it so you
I
don't need the
tried
online.
that. I tried that just to make sure, just to see how the NPC thing works. And the way that it works is when you go into co-op, you you basically choose a quest that you want to do, which is something that I'm actually not super happy about. Like I would like a feature for a lobby. I think that would be way cooler. Even if it's just a lobby where I don't know, there's like a small room for you and your friends, like a very small gathering hall or something. I think would be cooler because otherwise I haven't really done a session with anyone, but I would assume it's like quest ends, you both go your separate ways, and then you have to start a new
Reconnect.
quest. Yeah. So
I
that's the
see.
way that I think it's going to work. But again, I haven't had a chance to test it because, you know, people,
Yeah.
there's just like a different phases of when some people got codes, other people got codes. So people are like not
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
sync
Yeah.
right now. So it makes it hard.
Cool.
But that is
Yeah. I
something
will
that
definitely.
I want to test that when the game comes out. I can tell you, however, that co-op also comes shortly after the Rite of Channeling. There's like
Oh
again,
wow.
if
Okay.
if you are beelining, like for me, it was I think 15 hours before I got to co-op, because again, I was really taking my time and doing a bunch of other stuff. But if you beeline the quest, I think 10 hours in, probably you'll be around the level that you can do multiplayer and stuff. And
Interesting.
they actually have you do a PvP match with one of your buddies to get you like warmed up. That was the first time that I was like, "Whoa, hey, what's going on? This is actually getting a
Oh,
little bit
that's funny.
hard." I was a little bit, hey. He actually took a heart, and I was like, "Hey." But no,
I, I'm
it's still fairly easy.
interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be covering my thoughts on Twitter and videos when me and Yuna are going to be playing it. So we'll be doing local co-op, which is its own separate experience, and that'll be fun.
Yeah. But the
But just so people know, it's not the game. It's like co-op quest is a feature. It's a mode. It's not you're not playing the game together like the full like
yeah, yeah,
the linear story. Yeah.
you're not playing it. I actually look at it more like the same way that you would do quests on a traditional Monster Hunter game, with the exception that you don't have a lobby. So it's like you would
Mm,
queue into a quest to play with somebody else, and you guys go in and you do that quest. And when you go into that quest, as we've seen from the developer gameplay, even you can roam around that map for a little bit, get a couple of eggs, fight a couple of different monsters, and before you go to your target, whatever that happens to be. One of the things that I
yeah.
that I tested was how would it work for the NPC. So I created a lobby. The lobby. I created a quest to see if I could match with anyone, and I wasn't able to match with anyone. But while you are on this, while you're waiting for other players, they do put you on a map, so you can roam around the map, gather resources, fight monsters that are in there, and
That's
whatever.
good.
It's not the same map that you're going to, but it's just like a general map that is in there. So it's not like you're sitting there doing nothing. But basically, if you see that nobody's joining, you can just like force start the quest, and they'll just give you a random
Yeah.
NPC to go with you.
Nice. Cool.
I didn't test
Um,
how effective he was because after that I was like, well, yeah, but I want to go back to the main game and I want to eventually play this with friends, so I'm not gonna, run through these quests with an NPC when I'm gonna want to do them later with friends.
yeah. Now, I imagine you can't explain why because I don't want to hear story spoilers, but is there a particular NPC or other character in the game that you particularly like? Like, okay, this NPC is awesome. Like, I really like this character for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Favorite supporting actor or actress goes to
I'm thinking about it. I mean, I definitely
Anna, because she touches my face like a weird Wyverian thingy. Touchy, touchy.
no. That's not Enna who does it. That's the people from Hollow Island who do it.
She does it. Oh,
Your
so you're telling me
character,
that my.
your
Wait, are you
character's the
telling
one who
me that.
does it.
Wait, are you telling me that my dream of like meeting Yumlana and her touching me like all over my face is probably not going to happen?
I don't know. Maybe you'll touch her all over her
What?
face. I think that's a thing from the starter
HD
village.
Rumble, baby. We gotta utilize it.
But it's like I'm very interested to see how the Avinia situation plays out. But I think that the NPC that is probably going to be really interesting to me, I don't think I've met them yet, which is the Sarge cat, whatever his name is. I forget about him.
Oh yeah. I
I've
think
met
it's just Sarge, right?
No, I think he actually has a different name. But I've met a very interesting. Well, I was gonna leave out his name, but he's literally in the website. I've met Old Day or whatever they call him. I think it's called Old Day. He's an interesting character. But
Who?
yeah, I think right now from
Mm.
all the ones that I've met, Avinia is the one that I'm the most curious to see. How's it gonna play out because of the cutscene that I've recently had.
Yeah, she was a huge fan favorite in the first game. Not only because her story was very interesting, but I think people really liked her as a character. Like she's just one of those good empowered characters, like really badass. Like
Yeah,
she's got her own thing going on, and she's strong, she's smart, she's got a hell of a bond with her monstie, and she's a good-hearted person at the end of it. So like, she's a likable character.
that's one of the reasons. Like they tell you a bit about her backstory, and that makes her a very interesting character when you learn about the stuff that she's been through.
So no spoilers, so don't mention about the details. But do they give you, for people who did not play Stories 1, did they give you any details behind Naviru and his whole backstory, or no? Or you're not yet there yet?
Nuggets here and there, because like say for instance, you'll go to a place and someone will like recognize Naviru, and because Naviru's previous rider was also running around with Rathalos, they'll see
Mm,
Ratha, right, and they'll go like, "Oh," and they'll make that association. So it's not like they straight up just from the moments that I've played. It's not like they straight up, okay, stop everything. Let me tell you about Stories 1. But it's like you learn
yeah,
it through like other character interactions. Like, oh, so they've been through here and they've done stuff around here.
yeah. So I'll be even more specific. Do they talk about why he looks the way he looks? The fact that he doesn't look like other felines.
Not yet. Or if they have,
Okay,
I missed it. But I don't think they've
okay. They might
specifically
go into it
addressed
later,
that.
but there. I'll just say that there's
They
a very there's
they
a whole
have
story
mentioned
behind
that
that.
he's different. They have mentioned that he's quite unique for a feline a couple of times, but I don't think they've given
Yeah.
specific details as to why.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll come up later. But I mean, the cool thing is I'll say for people who are like, he just looks really weird or he's
Yeah,
different. Like that's an actual story thing, and there are specific reasons of why he is the way he is that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Cool. Who's your favorite monster so far, and why? If it's not spoiler.
favorite monstie so far.
If you had your boy, who would it be so far?
out of all of the ones that I've played with, because I'm very much focused on animations,
Mm,
I think it's gonna go to Rathian so far.
interesting.
It's very basic, but Rathian's kinship attack is baller. Is one of the coolest ones that you get early on. S Honorable mention to Ludrath, Royal Ludroth. I call,
Mm,
I call my I called him
Ludroth.
Ludroth because that's what I call him in the game.
LEWD, Ludra. Uh, well, yeah, the thing is how on point that is. Like, do you know the ecology behind that monster?
I mean, I know that he's
Like,
got like a sponge and he soaks up water
so
and all.
so the royal Ludroth is the male, and all the Ludroth around him, they describe as his harem of all the females that want to mate with him.
Well, there you
So
go.
he is Ludroth. He is
Yes,
Ludroth.
LEWD. It's so appropriate. Is kinship attack is also really, really cool. I really like it. Like, people really need to see all of these kinship attacks. It's crazy.
They're so good. I'm sure someone is going to be like, like day one, like there's going to be some compilation of someone who got the game early who's like, all kinship attacks. But I think you should save yourself.
Yep.
There's something exciting from the first game. I'm not gonna watch them because, like, there's something exciting about the first time you get a new monster. The first thing you want to do when you get your new wheels to take them out for a spin is, I want to see that kinship attack.
Yep.
you know, and you knock down your speed to _1, and you just sit back and enjoy. And you're like, damn, that is stylish. It is so cool. So that's my advice to people who have not played Stories 1. I would recommend you try to avoid those, just because sometimes they're so out there. You're just like, oh my god, wow.
You
That's
really
crazy.
wanna soak it in, take your time with it, and not get spoiled at all, because
Yeah,
those things are special.
yeah. So I guess another thing I was gonna ask about is, so there's three types of weapons, right? Like, you got the blunt, you got the pierce, and you got the cutting type, and there's two
Yeah.
for each one, right? Like, you can do
Yes.
gun, lance, or bow. I imagine you're playing nothing but bow because it's much better than gun, lance.
In your dreams, yeah, sure.
Now, I was gonna ask, like, in your time with the game, have you noticed, is there any substantial difference between two weapons of the same type, or does it actually do you think they balanced it in a way so far where you can choose the one you like, but you do want to have one for each type?
I can tell you that I haven't really felt the need to play a different one. So, like, for instance, the gun lance, it works fine. I don't have any issues with it. I'm hoping
Wait till
eventually
you
that
get into PvP, right? And then you're gonna be like, oh shit.
yeah, then it's probably going to be different. I can't even figure out exactly how the bow charge mechanic works because of
Oh, it's
you get an NPC early on and his weapon is the bow. And I just see him like, oh, he's preparing for a charge shot. And then it seems like he fires off like 2 charge shots in a row or
billion.
something. It's
That's
weird.
why it's OP, baby. It's OP. So what happens is, you can do this in the demo. The bow is so OP, it's crazy. So all you do is, for your turn, if you want to, it costs no skill points. You can choose charge. So you basically forfeit your turn, and then the next turn you can do, and they're so cheap. Like, where you get like the gun lance or the hammer, everything takes multiple charges or it takes a lot of skill points. We're talking like peanuts. It doesn't cost much of anything to do a rapid shot. And so, like, you'll choose to do like a rapid power, and you'd be like, bomb, 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 bomb. And then at the end of that turn, you'll do a power shot as well. So you get to do another follow-up attack. It's just like, you're going to let me do all that damage just for forfeiting one turn? Are you sure about that?
The thing that I notice is that the damage of the bow is not particularly impressive from the NPC again, because I just use gun lance. Because like I would compare his damage to mine, and I would be like, yeah, sure, you can do 2 attacks, but like I'll deal more damage in my one attack than you do, and you forfeit one turn to do those 2 attacks. So I don't know about that. Even on
I'm looking.
targets that were like weak to piercing. So I don't know. But again,
I'm
it's the NPC.
so looking for. I'm so looking forward to when we all get to the point where we're feeling comfortable to start doing PvP.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my god, it's gonna be great. Like the first game had some really good options where if you were over leveled, like there was you could set like level limits where they'll downsize everybody or they'll just upgrade everybody to okay, we're doing level 20 only, level 10 only, level 50 only.
Mm,
And so you could use your team and it would just adjust their levels so that you guys were on an equal playing field, so to say.
that's pretty
The
cool.
customization though, of course, played a
The
big difference.
genes, yeah, the genes will still win over, but
But man, I can't wait until we're all feeling good and cocky, and then we're gonna do all these videos and streams where we're just. It's
but
gonna be fun. It's. I mean,
what I do like about the different weapons though is that each of them seems to specialize in like different things. So the system for the sword and shield, for instance, is that you have one of the things that allows you to block, right? Block and
mm,
counter. So say sometimes you start a fight and there's like three monsters and they're all targeting you. Like hell yeah, dude! Sword and shield counter stance. You
counter
get
time.
one attack off on every one of them. So that's really cool.
Oh,
Then you also get some of the sword and shield abilities are really powerful. The skills that you get with them, they're really cool as well. But you know, to me, the sword and shield, their unique thing is that it's got that counter stance whenever you're getting like heavily attacked, and
yeah.
you can even use it to counter something that does not have a an attack type. So you can use it to
Mm,
just counter just about everything. So that's cool. Then when you get to the hammer seems to specialize in part breaking because like the skills that you
yeah.
get in the hammer are about breaking parts. And I'm like, that is appropriate and cool. And then the gun
Oh yeah, because
lands,
when you break apart, you also get a full turn of a down, which is amazing.
depending on the part that you break. It's not always a down
Okay,
when you break a part. Depends on what you
good
break.
to know.
But
But you get a material.
with the and then with the gun lance's specialty seems to be to build the kinship gauge. Because whenever you have
Huh.
a head to head, if you have two shells, you can do a shelling attack. And if you win the head to head, it significantly boosts your kinship gauge. And to give you an idea, if you do this with a worm stake, which requires 5 shells, so that's a lot of
Oof.
you just like fighting. Well, a lot. It's like you win, I don't know, 3 head-to-heads or something, and you're good. But if you do a worm stake, it is almost the full gauge of kinship.
Oh
If
wow.
you win a head-to-head
So
with a worm stake, which is insane.
it's gonna be really good for long battles. Like what end game, I feel it's gonna be strong
Yeah.
because once you start getting to multiple turn battles, and I love the fact, and you correct me if I'm wrong if it doesn't work like this in the full game, but in the demo, the monsters you can see who they're targeting from the get go, like for the first turn. You know they're targeting you. You know they're targeting your monstie, and you're able to react based on that.
Yes.
And they won't change. Like they're locked in for that turn.
Yep.
Yeah, after that point, it's dynamic and you don't know what's going on, but it really gives you
It's
a
it's
really
not
nice
always
advantage.
dynamic because sometimes they'll let you know again. Like sometimes they'll swap targets and they'll be like, "Oh, here's a line. Here's who it's going to attack," and you'll know where the attack
Yeah,
is going.
cool,
And
love it.
and
And
that
then
also makes it easier for you to plan out attacks. Like, say, for instance, the monster is targeting your buddy's monstie, and your buddy's monster, you can tell that it's about to do the attack that's going to counter the monster's attack. You
yeah,
yourself
join
can
in
do
and get the
that, and you
duel.
can join in and get the duel with your buddy's monstie, which is
Yeah,
also very good.
that's what I
And
really liked about the demo. Yeah,
and it
messing around. Like sometimes,
raises both kinship gauges.
yeah, it's kind of nice, right? Because the whole dynamic of having that other hunter there. It's like you can notice that your monstie is going to synergize with the NPC, and you're like, okay, I'm going to let them have it, and I'm going to go do something else. Like it changes so much
Yeah.
how you want to approach all the hunts. It's that wasn't like that in the first game. That's a new thing, and I think it's wonderful. Let's see here. I only have a few more questions actually. So the one is, have you noticed, are there any good options to do character remaking, or is there something that you'll probably have this in your video? Is there something that people should keep in mind when they make their character, or are they going to regret something they did in the demo, or are you basically able to change your appearance at any time, anyways?
You
I think
get
only your hunter name.
you get the same
Gender?
thing. No, I think you get the same thing that you would get in the recent Monster Hunter games, so World and Rise. Like you get to change some of the basic features, like a haircut or something like that, but you can't fully recustomize your character. I think you need to buy vouchers for that. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Yeah, I don't imagine anybody would, but I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, definitely if you
Uh,
create your character, you want to make sure that, spend some time in that character creator, make it right.
yeah.
Because
I don't know if you feel.
unlike Pokemon, it actually has good character customization. I just had to
Ah!
twist the knife a little bit. Like, I'm sorry, man, I couldn't
Oof.
help myself.
So I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about because I don't know if they've publicly talked about it or if it's spoilery. But is there any? I know that they're having some type of features with amiibos because that's what games
They
do now.
haven't talked about that.
Oh, maybe they have. I don't know. But like, is there something interesting about amiibos that is worth mentioning?
It's like I've barely
Like,
used them. I've used them, and you get like a fortune cookie thing that reads your sign, and then it says like either full moon or crescent moon, and I think
mm.
you can get like tickets for the prayer thing. I think,
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
but you can also get
Yeah, that
I got
prayer thing is interesting. In the
I
first
got
game, I ignored that
something.
thing for the entire game.
Yeah, I got something for scanning in Magnamalo, the Magnamalo amiibo, but I don't even remember exactly what it was because I didn't pay that much attention to it. But yeah, there is something
Oh,
there with the amiibos. I haven't played too much with it. I have played a lot with the prayer thing though. I'm constantly praying over there. I'm just like, yep, give me give me more points
oh.
whenever I finish the thing because that thing levels up and it increases the bonuses that
Yeah,
you
I was
get.
gonna say the thing I'm gonna do this time is I'm going to engage with that machine a lot because it's actually quite powerful.
Oh yeah, it's definitely worth it. Like I have passive buffs that just straight up give you increased chance of getting good eggs. Like just straight up
Mm,
passive for. There's even one buff that you can just get for nothing. Like you don't even need tickets. You just pray, and it's like here's 2% chance of getting better eggs. It's like why
nice.
not? Always do that every single time.
Oh yeah. I was gonna ask, is Zenny really hard to come by in the game so far, or because I mean like Rise was relentless in how much Zenny you needed if you wanted to craft a lot of stuff.
The
Has it been
thing
an issue or is it okay?
The thing is that Rise became an issue closer to the end because you wanted to like upgrade your weapons with
Yeah.
rampage skills and upgrading your armor and whatnot, and that was expensive. Early on, I noticed that I wouldn't always want to upgrade my armor and weapon all the way because it was kind of expensive. But then later down the line, you collect so much and you fight so much, particularly if you're playing the way that I'm playing, that you just go to the
Yeah.
NPC and be like, sell account items or whatever,
You're all good.
and you're good. Like right now, I have I think 180,000 Zenny or something like that, and I'm pretty good.
Nice. That's good to hear.
But again, I don't know
Then
what it's gonna be like when we get to end game. I think in end game things might change a little bit, but I don't know.
mm. So then I will say, if there's something that's not spoilery, is there any other quality of life features that was not in the demo that you think is like, wow, that's a really nice mechanic, or that really makes these things easier? Is there anything that you've noticed in the game that's worth calling out?
No, nothing that we haven't really seen in the demo. I mean, obviously, there's rite of channeling, which we didn't have in the demo at all. We talked about how with the gene stuff, you can just you can basically put the genes anywhere you want, which apparently in Stories 1 you were saying that you think you couldn't do that. So that would be like one of the biggest things. But from the stuff that I've seen so far, no, there's there's nothing really that big. I mean, the demo pretty much gives you a lot of
Yeah, I mean,
quality already.
there's so much quality of life already. Yeah, there's only other one other question I have for you before I jump us into another fun topic. Actually, you know what? Before I do that question, I'll ask you: is there something that you wanted to add about your experience that you haven't touched upon in your video that maybe after you made it, you're like, ah, damn, I should have mentioned that, or is it just pretty good to go and just we'll tell people go watch the video?
I think the most important thing that I don't think I mentioned in the video is, I mean, I mentioned that I did it, which is I took my time, and that's something that I always tell people to make sure that they take their time. But particularly with this game, I think it is important to just really take your time, soak in the scenery, because there's just so many things to get involved in, so many systems to interact with that are fun
Yeah,
that, just I it's like at the end of the day, people should always play video games however they see fit, which is,
yeah,
I don't want to tell someone you should play the game this way, but consider taking your time, consider really soaking in the sights. And if you want to beeline it, do whatever you want. But I've been just having a blast and I've barely advanced the story.
yeah. Because I think if people are like, just to remind people, post game content one is just huge. At least in Monster Hunter Stories one, it's huge, and this one it's going to be even bigger. I think the first true the like DLC, like, okay, this is the point where I kind of want to be through the story. At the earliest is going to be August 5th, so you've got a good month to slowly take it in, appreciate, absorb the game. That's when they'll start releasing stuff where you're going to be like, okay, if I want to experience that day one, then I need to get through the main story. Um, I think the first game was like 40 hours or something for the story, but I played the full game twice on the 3DS, because the second time I wanted to take it slower. Because like you were saying, like there's certain, although gene editing allows you to use certain earlier game or mid game monsters in the later games, just by the fact that there is a tier system. There's only a certain point in time, a period in which you can, that red Kezu is going to kick ass, like, and it's going to be your boy, and it's going to come through for you every time. And if you just shoot past that, then there's a lot of monsters that you could have appreciated, and that you're probably not going to touch so much once you get to post game. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of it's unfortunate, because they're all the personalities come through so well when you team up with them, and it makes you appreciate and just love the world of Monster Hunter even more.
I've definitely been going through a Ludroth phase. And any chance I get to bring out that Ludroth, I'm like, yeah, boy, get in there, beat the crap out of everybody. He's cool. I think my Ludroth shoots fireballs, if I remember correctly.
Oh, good gosh.
Because why not? It's like,
Why not? Exactly.
why not? Just like
Why
shoot a
not?
couple of fireballs here and there. It's not a big deal.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah.
So there's two more topics about stories that I want to touch upon. So one is, and this I think is, it's a topic online, at least at the point of the recording of this, which is someone got a picture of the box, and on the back of the box, apparently, it said that the physical game requires a 15 gigabyte download. Now, I will mention that right now the consensus is, let's just wait and find out, because it sounds like that's because the game itself and the day one DLC adds up to 14.6 gigabytes digitally. It doesn't make sense to say that the cartridge will require an additional download that's bigger than the entire game on top of the cartridge. That doesn't make any sense. So it could have just been a mistake at the printing. It could just, it could be wrong. So I think we're just waiting for clarification. But like, some people are trying to make it into a real big topic, like, why is this game taking up so much space? Why wasn't Capcom more upfront about this? I'm like, guys, just chill and wait until we find out. Have you haven't noticed anything like the game taking up a huge amount of space or anything, do you?
No, but I can check right now how much space it actually occupies, and we'll know. Let me see.
My guess is it's gonna be around the lower 14 point something, because they said the first update's gonna be like 500 megabytes. I think they said. Like, of course, I imagine that'll balloon.
13,
like, as they add more
13.5. My version is the digital one. The entirety of the game is 13.5. But I don't know
Yeah, I
if there's
imagine
going to be a big day one patch or what the deal is, but I just downloaded
Yeah, I
the
think
game.
there's gonna be it's gonna be like a 500 megabyte day one patch.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, it's 13.5 right now. I don't know.
But just worth mentioning. I mean, I'm sure by time, just shortly after this podcast is up and the game is officially released, like people will know what's going on. But it's just weird that just seems to be like a big topic, and it just makes me kind of wonder why it's such a big topic. Maybe I'm just not familiar with how some other games did it or something. But like,
so let me explain to you why it's such a big topic, Gaijin. I understand that you have 2 terabytes of download speed or whatever, 2 terabits even, 2 terabits of download speed. So let me tell you, there's a lot of people in the world that don't have that. There's a lot of people that are sitting on like 5 megabit download, and downloading 15 gigs is a pain in the ass. That's why people are upset.
The thing is, like I thought that would be it, right? But when I hear people saying this is, now I've got to buy a bigger SD card. I'm thinking, how does your SD card for your Switch not have 15 gigabytes free?
Mine doesn't.
Huh. I mean, I get. Really?
I had to delete a game to download this, and I have a ton of games on my Switch, and I have I think I have a 400. Is it 400? It's either 400 or 200 gigabyte card. I think it's probably 400. Yeah, I have a 400 gigabyte card, and I had to delete something to put this game on there. So yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah, there's a lot of games
first
on
world
Switch.
Problems.
Yeah, exactly. It is a first world problem. But it's like, I think
the violin is playing for you. It's like, I have too many games.
I think the biggest problem is the internet speed when it comes to this stuff. Well, there's the internet speed, and there's another thing, which is game preservation, right? Because say 20 years from now, you want to play Monster Hunter Stories, and you're not going to have whatever was on that 15 patch. I mean, I don't know if the servers are still going to be online or not 20 years from now, the Switch servers, because, not publishers, but like platform holders are always trying to like, hey, this console getting old. Even just recently, there was a big controversy over Sony just going like, we're gonna shut down the PlayStation 3 store.
Watch out! Don't get me started on Sony, my man. Yeah, we know what happened last time.
But it's like I gotta give him crap over that one, because I myself am going like, wait a minute, you're gonna do what now? You're gonna shut down the PS3? What do you mean? I got digital games I bought on there. I think that is also another aspect of it, which is people like that when they buy a cartridge, they'll be able to use it in the future. Like when they buy physical media, they'll be able to use it in the future. And a 15 gigabyte patch is not something that people want to hear. It's not lack of space. The two factors that I would identify is the internet speed and the fact that the cartridge is missing stuff.
Yeah, like they printed it too early or something. But again, I think this is a mistake probably, and we'll know within a few days.
It happens with every single game, though. It's not a Capcom only thing. Like I can't think of a game that's been released in the last decade that hasn't received a day one patch. So
yeah, so I think unfortunately that's just the industry and world we live in now, is that additional content will come digitally. They won't always release a final edition that has everything on the disc or cart, because it's just not financially viable to do that. Although I do wish that companies, I think we discussed this idea previously, where I said that it would be nice if companies offered like a Kickstarter almost, and say, hey, if you want to crowdfund, like an Ultimate Edition that's just a limited run, only backers are going to get it. Like, okay. Like we'll make a little profit off of it because we need to, but like we'll ship you out a cart that has all the stuff on it, and this is how much it'll cost.
Doesn't that feel kind of cheap though? It's like, I already bought this game.
Yeah, you're right.
I already bought this game. What do you mean? You want to sell me this game again? Come on.
Yeah, you're right. That was a stupid idea. I don't know. I just woke up. I haven't even had a cup of coffee yet.
Yeah, so. I feel you.
I got my cup of Rurikhan, and that's it. I no cup of coffee yet, so you put me in a jolly mood, and my day is positive and happy. But unfortunately, you do not have the same effect as caffeine does. Unfortunately,
we'll just have to work on that. I need to have the same effect as caffeine for myself, even.
So I think this is a great way for me to segue into the announcement last night everyone's favorite. Oh, the big 4K going to have, you know, 4K, ray tracing, 10,000 gigabit internet, and 2 terabytes of internal storage. Switch that's going to massage you, and when you play it, angels will come down and sing to you, and it'll cost $200. And
I'll tell you right now, I want to buy that new Switch, dude. I want to buy it, but let's just make it perfectly clear for people that haven't seen the news yet. But Nintendo has announced a new Switch, and you know all of these publications that keep going. Nintendo Switch Pro,
a new model,
Switch Pro this year, Switch Pro this year, Switch Pro, Switch Pro. It's not a Switch Pro. It's a new model, and the main things that it features is it's got an OLED screen. And there's a different dock, and the dock comes with a LAN port, and it has a smaller bezel, so it has a slightly larger screen. But the size of the console is essentially the same. The bezel just gets a little bit smaller.
Yeah. So it's the way I would think about it is you had the 3DS, and then you had the 3DS XL. I think they called it the LL. Here or over, I don't know which one.
I think the LL is the small. I think the LL is the small.
No, the LL was the Japanese name. They call it XL in the West.
In the West, it was XL.
XL, okay, yeah. We call it L here. It was interesting. But so you had like this. You had the 3DS XL, and then like a year later, then they brought out like the new 3DS, right, which was like the Pro. Like but this is not the Pro. This is to me this is the XL. Yeah. It means that if you have, this is not targeted for people who own a Switch in general. This is for new purchasers of it. And they're saying, if you're going to get a Switch and you want a bigger screen, because it's like, 6.3 to 7 inches? Like, it's actually, I think it's going to feel substantial in handheld. No, I think it'll feel quite substantial.
But it's going to be a very small difference in the grand scheme of things. In terms of size, because I'll tell you what is going to be a huge difference is the OLED screen. Because I was talking to some people on Twitter, they were telling me the most important thing is the LAN port, and I'm like, I already have a LAN adapter, so it's not really that big of a deal. But
and you're giving up a USB port for those who are not privy to this. The current dock has 3 USB ports, and they're giving up the USB port on the back to put in the LAN port.
Interesting. Okay, I wasn't aware that you get rid of that USB port. But I
love the new design, though. The design looks fantastic.
I like the black and white.
It looks really classy.
Yeah, I like it a lot. But to me, there's a reason that I specifically want to get one of these, and that is, how the Switch has had a revision at some point in its life cycle, which
the better battery. Yeah,
it has better battery. Mine is still one of the old ones, so I never got the new revision.
I'm a launch day guy as well.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I want to get this one, that and the OLED screen, because let me tell you, I own a Vita, okay? The launch model Vita, and that screen is a thing of beauty. Like, they made those other Vitas afterwards, and those screens were ass, okay? Ass. There's the good screen Vita and the ass screen Vita, and right now, we have the one that we have right now, I think is it's LCD, right? The Switch monitor, I think it's LCD. So an OLED screen, that is something that I would like to have a lot. You also get the improved thing in the back, like the little.
Oh, the stand is much better. And you get better speakers. But it's kind of a weird product, right? Because people are, I think, bashing on it, one, because they listen to the analysts, which is the stupidest thing you could do.
Yep.
Think about it. Nintendo doesn't have any huge flagship title coming out at the end of this year that I'm aware of, like Zelda 2 or something like that, right? They're the market leader. They've got stock in Switch. There's still component shortages if they wanted to make a Switch Pro model anyways. Their competitors are completely out of stock still. Why in the heck would they release a Pro version or whatever this year? It makes no sense. So they're just going, okay, well, if you're going to get it, there's a pricier version. So, there's a lot of people bashing on it. But one point I will give them is that it does have an identity crisis, because you're saying if you only play your Switch in TV mode,
Yeah, then you
Then
don't need it.
don't even think about it. Don't
Yeah.
even think about it because it like go buy an OLED TV. Like it makes no sense. But so like they're looking at that and they're like, oh, the LAN adapters. I think they people are thinking it's like it's that's not the selling point. They're just mentioning it, right?
I have a
like
LAN
the LAN
adapter.
adapter.
It's fine.
Like having LAN is for people who play on TV, and yes, the OLED screen is for people who do not play on TV. But the idea I think here is just okay. You only play on TV right now, but if you had an OLED, you might actually start playing this thing in bed more often. You might start playing it in handheld because an OLED is a gorgeous thing. But it's I mean it's just a nice revision, right? Like
yeah.
Nice more screen real estate, great stand, better battery because like you, I only have the launch switch and I'm afraid that it's going to kick out and die soon because
Yep.
I don't know how many thousands of hours I've put on this thing. Oh my gosh.
Like I've already gotten a scare the other day because like I've had this one pretty much since release date. This one was actually given to me by Nintendo, which I was very lucky. Like I think not a lot of people got a Switch from Nintendo, so I'm always super thankful. I never expect this type of stuff to happen. Always super thankful. But this Switch the other day, I tried turning it on and it said it had no battery, and I'm 100% sure that it was at 100% battery the day before. So that's never a good sign. And then,
well, I had something actually scary happen with my Switch Lite recently, which I don't use a lot because of the global situation. I'm not commuting to work, so my Switch Lite's getting no use at all. It's kind of interesting because I'm home all the time now. I don't regret purchasing it. I like when Yuna has a friend over, they use it all the time for Minecraft and stuff. But it's like it was charged, and then they tried to open it up and it was just dead. And then we long pressed the power to reset it. And as long as it was plugged in, it would stay at 1%. But the moment you unplugged it, it died off again. I'm like, what the hell? And then the next day it was totally fine. I'm like, yeah. So I was reading up online, like you're not supposed to leave these things on for long periods of time. You should shut them down or something. Like there's some fidgety things about it. Just like, I don't know. Makes me kind of scared. Yeah. At least with Monster Hunter, they allow cloud saves. If you do subscribe to Nintendo, they should make it free. But they don't. But luckily, it's not as expensive as Sony. But at least Monster Hunter allows you to get your saves backed up online if you pay for that service. Where Nintendo games, like, oh my god, like if my Switch crapped out right now, my Animal Crossing game's gone. Like, they don't allow you to back that stuff up on the cloud or anything. So,
like, right, because people would save scum because Animal Crossing is this very competitive game.
I know. We really care about that stuff.
It's a super competitive. How dare you time travel in Animal Crossing, Gaijin? How dare you?
It's so dumb. So, to me, I'm at the point now where because the Switch does not save your game on the SD card, and some people don't know that, it will not save on the SD card. All games
it saves on internal memory.
Must save on the system. And if you send in your Switch for repair, 9 times out of 10, they will reset it.
Ooh.
And so I'm at a point now, if a game does not support cloud save, I probably won't buy it.
Damn.
Because I am just too paranoid that my Switch... Because I've had to rebuy so many Pro controllers because of drifting and other weird issues. Like, I have no faith in Nintendo's... I don't have faith in Nintendo's build quality anymore. Oof. So, to me, I'm looking at this new Switch, I'm going... I'm afraid mine's going to crap out because I've played the thing for thousands of hours.
That's how they get us. They're like, yeah...
I know, right?
Let's put the fear of God in them and then sell a new one.
I remember, like... OLED screens are really nice.
Yes.
And I do know that while it sounds small on paper, taking something like a 6.3 or whatever and bringing it to 7 is going to feel substantial in the hand. It's going to feel really nice. So I think I'm on board with it. I'm assuming there's going to be a Switch Pro or something like a year from now, a year and a half from now, like holiday season next year. But whatever. I mean, I'm fortunate enough I can afford it. But the good thing is if you can't afford it, you don't need it. So that's good.
Yeah,
it's just another option.
The thing for me is there's a couple of reasons. One of them is I've been looking to buy a Switch for my son potentially,
Mm.
and also there's the battery thing with this new one, which will supposedly will have the revised battery that mine still doesn't have. So it's just one of those things. I can just buy one for me. I can give the old one to my son so that he can break it or whatever. And hopefully you won't break it. Good God. Better not break it. Slap him around. No, but
Yeah, and then
I
you
want to
then you,
start slowly introducing because he's getting that addiction to iPad. He's got like a really old iPad, and all he wants to do is mess around the iPad. And I'm like, no, listen, you need to understand, iPads are the devil's work. Okay, don't. No iPads, no tablets of any kind, okay? You want to play video games, we play them as you should, in a console or on a PC. None of this mobile business. You need to stop like tapping on screens. None of that. So,
well, Yuna got her start on mobile, but now she plays console games like crazy. So
still, I don't know.
there's a transition, but that's on you. I'm gonna stop. Agree with me in the comments. He should buy a new Switch for both him and his son.
Hey,
Hey,
I don't know how
no,
much.
no. Actually, I agree with you though. You should get use out of your old machines. It sounds corny as hell to say this, but e-junk is actually an issue in this world, like electronic recycling and stuff. So like I like your idea of giving him the original because there's nothing different about it. It's got the same insides and everything.
Exactly. It's the exact same
perfect.
thing. And I get a better OLED. I get a little bit more battery life. You know, I get some new Joy-Cons, which will probably
Why does
drift.
Daddy get the pretty version? Because he's Daddy.
Yeah,
That's why.
but basically, what do you mean the pretty version? His is going to have colors. I have the red, blue, neon. Mine's going to be white.
Ooh.
His is going to look better. But
this came from Nintendo.
Yeah,
I don't have that.
But the thing is, I almost suspect that like at least these Joy-Cons, they're already fixed, so they don't have drift. I fixed them. They don't have any drift whatsoever.
Oh, nice.
The new one is probably going to bring in drift, and I'm going to have to replace the analog sticks.
Because they said there's no hardware revisions whatsoever. The Joy-Cons are the same Joy-Cons. The processor, everything is identical. I do find the increase in internal memory incredibly laughable.
Is it? It's 32. It's 32 to 64, right?
Like they
Mine
deserve
has
to get.
What do you mean?
I was gonna say they deserve to take the piss a little for that. I mean, I do the same thing to Apple. Like it's like they're gonna introduce like a new model of like a computer and they're gonna give it like 256 gigabytes. I'm like, that's not a computer. Like what the hell is that or something like
tablet.
64 gigs on your phone. I'm like, well, that's 2 apps or something. It's like, guys, come on, why are you being so stingy? And I know why, because they can and they don't have to, because people are just gonna get SD cards are cheaper now, so it's fine. But it begs the question. You're like, well, why didn't they do that for the system? I think it's because they have to do some rigorous testing on those internal storages, and the integrity has to be really high, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. But it's kind of funny to see them like say it features 64
gigabytes of internal memory, and we'll charge you like 50 more euros for it because I think that the default Switch is like 300. This one's going to be 350.
You will not be able to install the next Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed without an SD card. It'll be a funny thing, but. So I'm going to get one, but I'm finding the meltdown of people online to be, I'm not being snarky about it, but I find it's really amusing to me. One, because I can't believe people were so, not gullible. I mean, analysts need to shut up. Like every month, they got
There's
the 4K
a new Switch
Pro coming, baby.
It's coming. It's 4K Nintendo Switch. It's that DLSS.
Guys,
that DLSS upscaling, baby.
In the middle of a semiconductor shortage globally, and they're going to get it done, baby, right for holiday season. Are you kidding me? Give me a break.
Dude, imagine if they did do it now, especially after releasing a revision in October. Like in holidays.
Oh my God.
People would be coming out down on this like, see, hey, there it is. And then we'd
Hey,
be
you
like,
know what?
"Holy
I will
crap."
say this: I'm going to buy it fully knowing that I'll probably buy a new Switch in a year.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
100%.
that's you have to consider that possibility. Yoon is interesting. I asked her, are you interested? And she's like, wait, it doesn't change anything performance wise. I'm like, no. She's like, that sucks. She's like,
Yeah.
I play mostly on the TV or monitor anyways. I was like, it's okay. It's like, if you don't want one, you don't need. I don't need to buy you one. However, I am an adult, so things such as tax write-offs are actually really important for managing tax brackets. So I might actually force her to upgrade just because I think I need to purchase stuff this year, just for tax
You
reasons.
could buy a
And
PlayStation 5.
PlayStation 5, and I ain't doing it. So. And my new monitor, because it's over $1,000, unfortunately, because of the way I'm reporting my taxes in Japan, it becomes a fixed asset, which I think a monitor is probably 3 years. So I can't get the full tax break on this thing in 1 year. It's got to be split up across several years, which sucks. So I'll take a look at the end of the year, like how much money did I make, and if I'm crossing some weird border where they're gonna I'm gonna end up losing money, then it just means that I need to find something gaming related that I can use for YouTube, do a video review on it, and say it was for work, and then I can, not expense it, but you can get a tax break on it, and then it lowers your total income for the year. So that I'll look into it, but I'm the problem is that it's going to be so limited in supply anyways that if you don't decide now if you're going to buy it, you're not getting it this year. Like,
Yeah.
as much as people laugh at it, like it's going to be limited. So I might just bite when pre-orders start, and I might just get two just to get it.
I was actually seeing if pre-orders were up in Portugal, and it already
In
said,
Japan, they said September.
yeah, and here it already says unavailable product. I'm not sure if that's because you can't pre-order it yet. I know that Socks already pre-ordered one.
What?
Yeah.
Well, then again, okay, let me go on a small little rant here. And it's not a rant because it doesn't affect me, but there's something stupid about the West that I've been hearing about. And correct me if I'm wrong, but sites that will take pre-orders without knowing how much stock they're going to get, and then you end up getting screwed over. And it's like, it makes no sense to me because in Japan, our pre-orders start very late. And if you pre-order it, you're getting it. Like, they know their stock. So like,
Yeah.
our pre-orders for this won't even start until I think late September, like 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. Where it's like people in the West are like, yeah, I got my pre-order, and then I see all these tweets of like, the store called and told me they got screwed, or there's no stock, and they canceled my pre-order without a reason. I'm like, what's the point of a pre-order if it's not a pre-order?
Yeah. Dude, West.
That's a horrible system.
It's because it's all about the consumption, man. You just gotta buy it. Just gotta buy it and hope for the best. Just consume. That's what we do.
Like, Japan years ago made a change at some of our bigger electronic stores that if you pre-ordered, it used to be that you only needed to put like $10 down or nothing down. But I think they realized that enough people were canceling and then they had stock issues.
Yeah.
So now, from several years ago, they say, okay, if you're going to pre-order, you got to pay for it right now, up front. Which is great because it means that it made it easier to pre-order stuff because some people just don't want to commit the money months in advance. So like the Switch, I lined up in the morning at 4:30 in the morning to get a pre-order. And people are like, why are you lining up for 3 hours outside on a cold day to get a pre-order? I'm like, because it's going to guarantee I'm going to get it on day one. And that is worth, I'd rather line up 3 hours now so I don't line up 20 hours later.
It's actually available now. I can pre-order it. Yeah.
So have you ever been screwed out of a pre-order, or is that a thing that happens in your country as well?
I haven't, but that's because I very rarely ever pre-order anything, so I haven't really been screwed out of any of them. But I could foresee this one being like one of the first ones because I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people wanting to buy this. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to be running out soon, so I'll think about it. I'll think if I want to pre-order it or not. It's not like I'm in a hurry of like, oh, I need to get a new Switch like right this second. It's like I want it, But then
Yeah,
again,
if
I
I can
also
get it,
I
great.
also wanted the Monster Hunter edition one, and I never bought that.
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah,
way
so
it
I just
looked.
checked. In Japan, they're not even taking pre-orders until the end of September, late September.
Huh.
So like weeks before it comes out.
Hmm. That's a
But I
smarter,
really,
more responsible way of doing it.
isn't it? But it also, and that, and well, it also means that there's gonna be a rush to. But there's always gonna be a rush to pre-order stuff. But it'll be interesting to hear thoughts on people. I know people are disappointed, and I don't blame them. I mean, we all want a more powerful Switch.
Yep.
It will come eventually, I'm sure. I didn't think it was coming this year, so I had no hopes to be dashed. But I know some people were
Yeah,
heavily invested for some reason, and I feel for you guys. Like that sucks, but
I wasn't
it
expecting
is
it
what it
this.
is.
I wasn't expecting it this year either. Like there is no way. My main concern is actually like you and I just talked about is potentially my main Switch breaking right now, which is something that I definitely don't want. Like I got friggin' Stories 2 to play, I got Rise to play. It's like I can't be breaking no Switch now, god damn it. Dude,
I was gonna ask you about this. Like,
if this Switch would
go ahead.
break now, tomorrow I'd be running to a store to get another one.
Oh yeah,
I just feel like running, like, give me another one. Give it to me right now. I don't care about the drift. I'll use my old Joy-Cons.
so I've got an interesting idea to float. This is tinfoil hat. I don't even know how even this would. I don't even think. I don't know. This is just. I was just thinking, if Nintendo's releasing a new Switch, a revised model that's better in some ways as an extra choice this year, and I think if they're going to have a Switch Pro, it would come next year before Breath of the Wild or with Breath of the Wild. It would make the most sense. Then I'm thinking, well, they don't want to alienate Switch owners now, and they don't want to alienate the people who just bought a new Switch. I remember about 5 years ago, there was news about them patenting a technology to do an external GPU for the Switch.
You're thinking about the
Could you?
4K dock.
I'm thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if they introduce the Nintendo Switch Pro accessory that is either a dock or connects to the dock that allows for external GPU, extra manpower, so that you don't get enhanced performance on portable mode, but when you're on a TV, you get the enhanced performance. And then it comes full circle, right? Because next year you'd be like, I still own my original Switch. I could just buy the dock. It's probably a few $100 because there's a GPU in it, but it upgrades my experience. If I bought the new OLED, I got the premium experience on handheld. Now I can get the premium experience on my TV. And that would explain why they kept everything the exact same size. You can use the old Switch in the new dock. You can use the new Switch in the old dock. Like, all of it is absolutely the exact same. And it's like, why would they do that? So it just gets me thinking. I was like, did they figure out an external GPU accelerated solution? That would be kind of cool. That would make sense.
I know that I just let you bring all of these theories to the forefront, and I spoke about that not that long ago, and I seem to remember that someone who is in the know told me that there's not enough bandwidth in this connection here in this USB-C. There's not enough bandwidth there to support like external
GPU.
I mean, that's what someone told me. I don't actually know because I don't know like all of the inner workings of the speed of the USB-C versus the speed that you would need to make a GPU more whatever. I think at that point you'd probably be looking at building an entire separate console, and then the USB-C would serve as like just swapping your saves around or something like that. Or maybe even just as the hard drive of the console or whatever, but would it even make sense at that point, you know? If you're not drawing any power from the Switch. Then
it's a fun thing to think about, though.
It is. It is. I would love it. I think that would be the perfect solution to just be like, hey, here's the Pro dock, and this just like upscales everything that you put on the TV with the DLSS from NVIDIA or whatever.
Yeah.
And boom, done. Like that would be the most perfect thing because it would be the most consumer friendly thing. So that's probably why it's not going to happen. No, I think it'd be great.
Yeah,
I think it'd be fantastic. But like I said, I don't know about
I wouldn't bet on it.
USB-C
Yeah, I don't.
having enough bandwidth to handle all that.
Interesting. It might be worth looking into just out of curiosity, but I I would never ever try to have expectations when it comes to Nintendo and hardware. Who the hell knows
Yeah, because they're
what they're
just
gonna
like
do?
they're marching to the beat of their own drum. It's like,
Yeah,
Xbox and
who
Sony are gonna
knows?
do what they're gonna do, and Nintendo's gonna be like, hey, we're gonna do something crazy and just throw this at the wall, see if it sticks.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting. So it's good. It's interesting to hear your thoughts on that because that was like when I saw that I was like, oh, that's something we can discuss tomorrow on our
Yeah.
call on our podcast. New
But
Switch,
but
the
yeah,
the Incredible Pro.
I would love to get this one because, like I said, OLED screen battery life would be friggin' fantastic. But I still don't know if I want to pay the money for it.
Yeah, it's an expense. It would be an incredible luxury purchase for sure.
Yeah, it's that's the thing because like my Switch is still perfectly functioning. The only reason I would have to buy another one is if maybe this one falls to the ground, breaks. Then I gotta buy a new. It's not a luxury anymore. This one's broken. No, but
Are you
it's
going to
like
create your? Are you going to create your own necessities?
no,
And start placing it on countertops and
I would never. I don't even. And you know how there's people that like throw their controllers. I don't even do that. I've never thrown a controller in my life
yeah.
unless it was
I
already
actually
broken.
haven't really.
If it's already broken, then maybe I would throw it because like whatever, it's broken.
Yeah. So someone gave like I read about this and I don't know if Japan would even do it. But I at least in America I heard that some hospitals do it and I thought it was a fantastic idea for early adopters or people like us who I think are well off enough that we splurge a little bit on hardware that instead of selling like your old Switch or your old console that still works, donate it to a hospital
Yeah, I
that
think
has
that's
a program
I think that's
in which they
Child's
allow,
Play. Isn't that Child's Play?
yeah,
The
where
name of the program, I think.
or something, yeah, where they actually can find ways of, people who are suffering in a hospital to try to get through it a little bit easier. Like you can donate. I thought that was a fantastic idea.
Yep.
And so like I've been thinking now, like the next time I do an upgrade, I don't need the $100 they're going to give me for a used Switch. Like if I could donate that to a good cause, I think I'll do that.
That's the way to do it.
But just food for thought for anybody who upgrades. I thought it's been in my head. It's something that I want to do, going forward. But that being said, I cannot wait for Stories 2.
Stories too,
Uh,
dude. Like I said,
I
I'm
don't.
probably gonna be replaying the bits of the story that I already did to catch up to my main character on stream, and then proceed to continue playing with my main character. I think I might do that. Still thinking about it
Mm,
because at the same time, I just kind of just want to dive back into my save and continue playing. And it's like,
yeah.
oh, particularly at the story point that I'm at, I'm just like, oh, I really want to play it.
Can we commit to? Because we do have a video version of this podcast for those of you who are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast or whatever. This podcast also lives as a video form on Rurikhan's YouTube channel, and it's always entertaining. I know we've got a new animation for my icon, which is cute. It's a cat, the cat animation, and it's always fun seeing you visually as we talk and go through stuff. But I thought it would be fun if we can commit to people and let them know that I don't know when, because I think we both are so competitive that we're gonna get to a point where we want to really mess with our monsties. But I want us to do some PvP, and I want to put that on like a butt end of like a podcast and say, you want to stick around, you want to see us go at it, we're gonna go at it. Gunlands versus bow,
I can
we're gonna get
commit
it
to
on.
that. I can commit to that for
That's
sure.
so something to give you guys something to look forward to, because I know we did not get much chance to play a lot of Monster Hunter Rise together, especially like record it. Like we were just playing it and having fun, which I want to do again, hopefully soon. But I think it would be fun.
Yep. I'm
'Cause
down.
I already got my challenge out to Eric's. Of course, he's so far. I'm gonna wait until I'm fully buffed for that one. But we're gonna finally put the Glavinus to shame It's gonna feel good. That'd be fun.
Yeah, right. I mean, you already have an element advantage, though. It's not fair with Mizu versus Glavenus.
No,
you have element advantage.
You don't know what the elements are in this game. You can gene edit everything.
Eric should make a lightning Glavenus and beat the crap out of your doggo.
No, what'll probably happen is we'll probably both have lightning, or I'm gonna go. If there's a way to go status, I'll try to trip him up or something. I don't know. I'll have like a paralysis Mitsune or something crazy.
And while you two are fighting, I'm just gonna like dun dun dun, just like just swoop in with the B-52, just like tactically nuke the both of you from orbit.
I really hope that they kept his whimper when you knock him over, like if you break his part, because me and Yuna were talking about how. I know we were talking about. She was like, I feel so bad hitting, like Naru or whatever, like when they're like looking at you, like they're staring at you as you smack them in the face, and she's like, I feel so bad. And I was like, it reminds me. I was like, well, Basil's does like an audio thing. He's like, and then when he gets up, he wants to kill you. I'm like, you punk.
Yeah, that's what he does. That's how he gets you. But
see, I'm doing good. I'm not cussing a lot. I've kept it under control.
There was something that I've noticed. I haven't explored it too much because I haven't explored the multiplayer too much, but I think in PvP, there's a 4-player mode. I'm not sure. Because I seem to remember that.
Yeah. That would make sense because you got the 2 hunters on one side. So me and you, we got to team up and beat him in, I don't know, one of his creator gangs, like 269 or Paradise or somebody. Or even Socks. Get Socks and Eric's on one team and me and you on the other, and we'll shields up, baby.
We're throwing down the gauntlet. Socks and Eric's, get ready.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would.
But again, I think all of us, we would have so much invested into wanting to win that I think it's going to take quite some time for us to get our monsties.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like Capcom be releasing Monster Hunter Stories 3, and we'd be like, hey, I think I'm almost ready, guys. I think I'm almost ready for this.
Eric's is gonna be like, I was ready 3 days before launch. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Machine of a man.
Crazy.
But all in good nature. I love all these guys, so it's fun.
It's good stuff. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for the Monster Hunter Stories 2 special, as well with the Switch news and all of that stuff for this episode of the Third Fleet Podcast. We are both extremely sleep deprived, and we'll talk to you guys again next week. Thank you all very much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy, hit the dislike button. Feedback is important. We'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe,
and happy writing.
Yeah, I'll allow it.